Chapter 600. One strand of dragon power can increase 50,000 pounds of chi power. Adding my original dragon power, it should add up to 250,000 pounds of chi power. Inside the manor's secret chamber, Yi-chun was sitting on the stone platform, refining the dragon blood plant. Back in the Treasure River Island, when he had refined the plant and obtained the first strand of dragon power, it had devoured Yi-chun's original chi power, increasing it to 200,000 pounds. After all, his original chi power was around 150,000 pounds. Now that he had refined the second strand of dragon power, he did not have enough chi power for it to devour. Therefore, it could only increase by 50,000 pounds, which would add up to 250,000 pounds. No, one strand of dragon power could increase 50,000 pounds. If I had enough dragon blood plant, wouldn't I be able to increase my chi power to 1 million pounds? Something is not right. The human body should have its own limit and should not be able to increase it endlessly. With that thought in mind, Yi-chun became a bit more cautious. The dragon power refined from the dragon blood plant is just pure chi power, without any other support. The dragon bone jade marrow could not only refine the dragon power, but also form a dragon bone defensive layer on the surface of one's skin, adding another defensive effect. Alright, I will not refine the dragon blood plant for now. Let's refine the dragon bone jade marrow first. The dragon bone jade marrow was not meant to be swallowed. It only needed to be extracted. Placing both of his hands on his dantian, Yi-chun held onto the dragon bone jade marrow and slowly activated his Zhen Yuan, extracting the energy inside. The energy contained in the dragon bone jade marrow was several times more than that of the dragon blood plant. It was like a torrential river, pouring into Yi-chun's body through his meridians. Vaguely, one could even hear a splashing sound. What a rich energy! Yi-chun took a deep breath, increasing the speed of refining the dragon bone jade marrow's energy. After an unknown amount of time, a thick layer of blue light appeared on Yi-chun's body. The blue light was like a halo, crystal clear and pure. Not good. My chi power has reached 300,000 pounds, and it cannot be increased anymore. Could it be that this is the limit of my body? But the energy of the dragon bone jade marrow is all in my body, and I have only refined 20 to 30% of it. The rest is going to be wasted. The value of the dragon bone jade marrow was simply too great. He had only refined 20 to 30% of its energy, wasting 70 to 80%. This was undoubtedly a waste of heavenly treasures. If word got out, he would be cursed by others. Focusing his mind, Yi-chun continued to refine energy, wanting to break through his limits. 2 hours. 4 hours. After a full 6 hours, Yi-chun's strength had been stuck at around 300,000 genes, unable to increase any further. The dragon bone jade essence was like boiling water, endlessly churning within Yi-chun's body. If he did not refine the dragon bone jade essence in time, then it was very likely that Yi-chun's body would explode or would break through the Zhen Yuan seal and disappear from the world. Another 4 hours passed, and it was already the middle of the night outside. Breakthrough. Crackle. A series of popping sounds rang out as a ring of formless and terrifying chi spread out from Yi-chun's body, stirring up circles of ripples. At the same time, the surface of Yi-chun's skin glowed with a resplendent greenish-red crystal light. Even his hair, facial features, and clothes were dyed with a greenish-red color, making him look like a greenish-red jade sculpture. Rank 3 Spirit Body. Done. The rank of the spirit body represented one's physical strength and had little to do with the strength. Therefore, when Yi-chun's spirit body had increased from rank 2 to rank 3, his physical strength had increased drastically, allowing him to have more strength. It was like how a normal greatsword could only handle the Zhen Qi of a clasping Yuan realm warrior. If an astral-reaching realm warrior continued to use a normal greatsword, then the normal greatsword would break into pieces. Now that Yi-chun's spirit body had reached rank 3, its strength had increased tremendously, allowing him to have more dragon power without worrying about not being able to handle it. With a breakthrough, The remaining Dragon Bone Jade essence energy had all been refined into dragon power, merging with Yi Chen's cells and bones. Deep inside his body, it had become Yi Chen's own strength. However, the rank 3 spirit body had its limits as well. It could only have 400,000 genes of strength at most. After reaching 400,000 genes of strength, there was only about half of the Dragon Bone Jade essence energy left. In other words, this half could only be wasted, unless Yi Chen could continue to increase the rank of his spirit body. However, it was impossible to continuously increase the rank of his spirit body in such a short period of time. It seems like my body's talent is not much different from normal martial geniuses. Before attaining the spirit body, my body's limit was around 100,000 genes. Rank 1 spirit body's limit was 200,000 genes, rank 2 300,000 genes, and rank 3 400,000 genes. This is the standard for most people. If it were Chu Zhongtian, that would be horrifying. When he was still an astral-reaching realm warrior, his body strength was equivalent to a rank 2 spirit body, or even a peak rank 2 spirit body. It was said that people were extremely talented, but obviously Yi Chen was not that talented. His body's talent was only normal and not some special body. Let's try the Dragon Bone defensive layer. Yi Chen did not know what the Dragon Bone defensive layer was, but he subconsciously tightened his body and activated his dragon power. Crack! Crack! The dragon power seemed to have some kind of bone element. When it reached the surface of Yi Chen's skin, it immediately condensed, forming a thin layer of white bone, which had a faint green-red halo on its surface. Pap! Yi Chen poked his own arm with his finger, making a crisp sound of hard objects colliding. It's even more powerful than the protective Jinyuan, but it will consume my dragon power. Standing up, Yi Chen let out a long breath. A faint pressure spread out, forming the shape of an ice flood dragon's dragon aura. There are still 7 dragon blood plants left, which I can't use. Whatever, my main focus is not on strength. As long as I'm not weaker than others, it will be fine. I think Yin Feng Feng, Hai Wu Ya, and the others can only refine a little bit of the dragon blood plants. The rest can only be stored and used as my own wealth. When necessary, I can use them to barter. In the following period of time, Yi Chen focused all of his energy on the Amaranthan nature and Sky Thundercut. After a month, the Amaranthan nature had finally reached perfection. Once he stabbed out, it was like a small plant sprouting in the spring. It was not eye-catching, but it could grow quickly. The sword power was continuous, using 90% of his power and leaving 10% behind. The remaining 10% could be used as a link, increasing the sword's speed continuously. Meanwhile, the Sky Thundercut had also reached 110%. The Sky Thundercut was a sword move created by Yi Chen himself. In the beginning, it was indeed quite difficult, and the progress was slow. But ever since Yi Chen reached the Sea of Soul Realm, his comprehension of the Sky Thundercut had gradually increased. It was like a skyscraper. Comprehending other people's profound martial arts was like laying the foundation for others, while creating one's own profound martial arts was like laying the foundation for oneself. In the beginning, it would waste a lot of time, but as time went on, the benefits of building one's own foundation would start to show. The most important thing was that the things created by oneself were undoubtedly the most suitable for oneself. On this day, Yi Chen had just arrived from the extreme Tai world. Pap! All of a sudden, one of the jade tags in his storage ring shattered. Taking out the jade tag, a smile appeared on Yi Chen's face. Murong has finally reached the Sea of Soul Realm and come to the Sky Martial Region. This jade tag was the Mother Jade Tag, and Murong Qingsheng had a sub-jade tag in her hand. Crushing the sub-jade tag would trigger the Mother Jade Tag and cause it to shatter on its own. Murong had told me that when she broke through, she would wait for me in the West Ling City of the Sky Martial Region. She should be there right now. Leaving the mansion, Yi Chen sat on his flying puppet and flew toward the West Ling City. The West Ling City was a city near the south region of the Sky Martial Region. There was a West Ling restaurant in the city, which was one of the 2 most representative restaurants in the city. It often served famous, powerful warriors. On the 5th floor of the restaurant, Inside the lobby, a woman in a purple dress with a veil on her face was sitting by the window, enjoying her afternoon tea. The people sitting at the other tables would occasionally look over and glance at her. Such a unique aura. I wonder what she looks like under the veil. Definitely not bad. I wonder who would be lucky enough to see her face. While everyone was talking, two people walked out of the room next door. The one on the left was a handsome young man with green hair, wearing a green leather armor. The one on the right had gray hair and carried a battle blade on his back. They were indeed Duan Lingya and Lin Ku. I did not expect to see such high-quality goods in this place. Duan Lingya chuckled as he walked toward the woman in purple. Miss, I am Duan Lingya. May I know your name? Duan Lingya looked at the woman in purple with a smile on his face. His soul power quietly penetrated her veil, wanting to see her real face. Sir, you are being too impolite. The woman in purple pushed her soul power, blocking him from looking into her face. Lin Ku said, Brother Duan wants to make friends with you. I guess this is your first time in the Sky Martial region, and you have not been to the pavilion yet. We can take you there. No need. My friend will take me there. Your friend? I would like to meet your friend. I think you would know me. You don't mind if I sit here, right? Duan Lingya saw that the woman in purple was only at mid-sea of Soul's realm, so he knew that his friend would not be that powerful. So, he sat down in front of her. The woman frowned as she stood up and said, Sorry, I have something else to do. I will leave now. Leaving now? Duan Lingya was not too happy about it. Lin Ku stood in front of Murong Qingqing. Boom! The woman in purple exchanged a palm attack with Lin Ku, and they were evenly matched. Interesting. Duan Lingya did not care too much about it. Lin Ku was good at blade arts, and the two were only testing each other. Of course, the woman in purple was indeed powerful. You want to leave? Sure, but let me see your face first. All of a sudden, Duan Lingya moved his body. He reached his hand towards the girl's face, trying to take off the black veil. He wanted to see what she looked like. From the outside, he could only see the outline of her face. Everyone around shook their heads, feeling sorry for the woman in purple. This Duan Lingya was a very good man. None of the women he had his eyes on could run away. Obviously, the woman in purple had piqued his curiosity, and he would not give up until he got what he wanted. Shoo! The purple-robed woman was extremely fast. She leaned back and passed through the window like a ghost, arriving outside the West Hill restaurant. Duan Lingya coldly snorted, None of the women I want can run away from me. Shoo! The temperature in the lobby dropped suddenly as Duan Lingya turned into a cold wind and chased after her. Chapter 601. All of a sudden, everyone's gaze landed on Yi Chun. Those who had never seen Yi Chun before also saw Yi Chun's real face for the first time. As one of the top 3 martial geniuses, Dantai Mingyue also looked over. Then, her eyes landed on Murong Qingqing, who was wearing a black mask. Brother Yi, finally, someone wants to challenge you. Hai Weiyao laughed. Ling Tianhao said, Yi Chun do not lose. Although he did not think that Yi Chun's power was more powerful than his head disciple, Yin Fengfeng, who rarely fought with her real body. But since he could beat Lin Tian, he must have something up his sleeves. This Lan Xiecheng was only slightly more powerful than Lin Tian before, and there was no clear winner between them. Lan Xiecheng is very cunning, just like his battling style. Since he has made the 10 attacks agreement with you, he must want to get the upper hand within 10 attacks. Then, in everyone's eyes, Lan Xiecheng would be slightly more powerful than you. Yin Fengfeng had seen through the problem, so she reminded him. Yi Chun said, making the 10 attacks agreement, either he is not confident, or he is very confident. I hope it is the latter. What? Yi Chun, you do not dare to accept my challenge? Lan Xiecheng waved the fan in his hand as he walked out of the pavilion. Extending his body, Yi Chun lightly flew down from the top of the mountain, stepping on the surface of the 9-dragon lake. He opened his mouth and said, 10 attacks agreement. That is exactly what I want. Let's finish this quickly. All right, I would like to see how powerful the so-called number 1 warrior below the top 5 young warriors really are. In the end, Lan Xiecheng was not happy about being stepped on. But, just like Yin Fengfeng had said, he was very cunning. If Yi Chun was really powerful, then he would just be the stepping stone for the others, which was not what he wanted. Therefore, he said the 10 attacks agreement. He thought that within 10 attacks, even if he could not get the upper hand, he would not be at a disadvantage. But he would let the situation be in his favor. Lan Xiecheng performed his flying art and shot toward the Nine-Dragon Lake. On the way, he was still waving his fan. Besides the evil Qi, he did look like a young master. In the middle of Julong Lake, the two stood 100 meters apart. Hall Master Amo, this Yichen also uses the sword. I wonder what level his attainment in the sword Dao has reached. The person who spoke was the leader of a rank 6 sect in the Misty Snow region, and the person he was talking to was the leader of the Misty Snow Hall, Snow Sword Master. Although 10 moves are short, I should be able to see something. Master Snow Sword was very emotional. Back then, when Yichun was being chased by the experts of the AO family, she was able to instantly kill all the experts of the AO family with a single sword strike. In just a few years, the genius sword artist who was being chased by the experts of the AO family had already grown to a level where he could be mentioned in the same breath as her. Yichun, take this. On top of the lake, Lan Xiecheng's body was extremely fast as he flashed left and right, approaching Yichun in a curved way. The fan in his hand was raised up, attacking with unpredictable shadows. Clang! Yichun took out his gold sword and attacked as well. The first exchange of attacks between the two was just to test each other. Therefore, the battle was not that intense. It could only be said that there was a killing intent hidden within the calmness. Once the opponent could not hold on anymore, the calmness of the attack will be able to turn into a killing attack that could severely wound the opponent and end the battle with one attack. Misty Dream Flower. Lan Xiecheng was very good at the Misty Profound. He formed a spell with his left hand, causing the rolling mist to spread out with him as the center. Soon, it drowned Yichun within, turning the area within a few thousand meters in the middle of the lake into a thick mist area. What the hell? How can we see clearly like this? After Lan Xiecheng performed this attack, some of the people who were watching the battle yelled out. Normal mist would not be able to block the soul power detection, but the thick mist that was created by the Misty Profound had the effect of reducing soul power drastically. Therefore, they would not be able to notice some of the details. Countless misty flowers were formed as Lan Xiecheng stepped on them, attacking towards Yichun without making a sound. Every single movement was extremely weird and tricky. If most of the people were walking on the right path, then Lan Xiecheng would be walking on the wrong path, winning with surprise attacks. It was the first time for Yichun to fight with a young warrior like this, so he had a general understanding of his opponent's style. Break! A beam of sword qi broke through the thick mist, separating the lake water. Haha, it is useless. Close. Lan Xiecheng was shocked at Yichun's observation power. The latter had not only blocked out his attack, but had also thrown out a counterattack, breaking through the thick mist with one sword attack. Speed sword hell. Yichun's expression did not change at all. He had seen the whole bewilderment forbidden zone before, and Lan Xiecheng's Misty Dream Flower was just a simplified version of it. Shaking his wrist, Yichun performed his fastest sword art. That sharp sword qi filled up the thick mist before shooting out in all directions. Looking from outside, the thousands of meters of thick mist looked like a huge porcupine. That slim long sword qi was both fast and sharp. Huh! A groan was heard from within the thick mist as a human figure was blown out of it. Everyone looked over and found out that it was Lan Xiecheng. Right then, he looked a bit messed up with a light footprint on his chest. Lan Xiecheng swallowed a mouthful of blood that he was about to puke out. Although that kick from Yichun was not some powerful martial art, the power contained in it had broken through his protective Zhen Yuan and traveled into his armor, causing him a serious internal injury. Yichun, I have indeed underestimated you. I was too careless. Lan Xiecheng's expression did not look good. Stepping on the lake water, Yichun walked out of the thick mist slowly. He looked up and said, "It has been 7 attacks now. You only have 3 left." If someone else wanted to take advantage of him, although Yichun was not a stingy person, he would not let them get away with it. Therefore, After performing his speed sword hell and combining it with his soul power, he was able to pinpoint Lan Xieching's exact location very quickly. He then approached with his extreme speed. After exchanging 2 attacks, he kicked the latter out of the thick mist. Right now, everyone could tell that Yi Chun had the upper hand. "All right, you have forced me to do this." Lan Xieching did not plan to risk his life before, but right now, he had no other choice. His reputation was the most important thing to him. So how could he let himself lose to Yi Chun? Fog Ocean attack. Behind Lan Xieching's back, a huge amount of dense fog poured out. This time, the fog did not spread out in all directions. Instead, it gathered behind Lan Xieching, connecting with his back. It was like a small ocean of fog, rolling up and down, looking both real and fake at the same time. Boom! Stepping on the lake water, Lan Xieching rushed toward Yi Chun in a straight line, which was rare for him. With the support of the fog ocean, he looked so powerful and unstoppable. This Lan Xieching is indeed not to be underestimated. This fog ocean contains not only the fog profound, but also his aura. Under that attack, even the most aggressive young warriors would not be able to handle it. I wonder how Yi Chun is going to handle it. It was one of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Lin Chaonan, and the one he was talking to was the leader of the 3, Xie Baiting. Xie Baiting said lightly, "Lan Xieching should still have some tricks up his sleeves, right?" He did not think that he could beat Yi Chun with just the power of the fog ocean. The lake water could not handle Lan Xieching's aura anymore, so it was pushed to the sides. "Lose!" With a loud shout, Lan Xieching waved out that jade-like fan in his hand. At the same time, the fog ocean behind him suddenly left Lan Xieching's body in an even more aggressive manner, devouring Yi Chun immediately. It was like a flood, making a human's strength seem so weak. If it were a normal person being attacked by an invisible fog ocean, they would be panicking for sure. Even someone with a calm mind would be affected a little. Not to mention that there was still Lan Xieching's aggressive attack. Since the fog ocean was pouring out from his body, he was the only one who was not affected at all and could attack as much as he wanted. With all these factors, all the warriors who were slightly more powerful would be defeated by Lan Xieching. This was Lan Xieching's ace attack, the combination of the fake and the real. The fog ocean would affect the opponent's mind, and the attack would attack the opponent's body, making them exhausted. Boom! An exploding sound was heard. The center of the 9-dragon lake caved in immediately, forming a few thousand meters wide and 1,000 meters deep hemisphere. At the edge of the hemisphere, the lake water poured out in all directions. Looking over the waves, everyone saw that Lan Xieching's fan had been blocked by Yi Chun's gold sword. Lan Xieching's fog ocean attack did not give Yi Chun any openings at all. "Hee, you have lost." Lan Xieching's face flashed with a weird look as he pushed his fan forward along with the gold sword. Shoo! A long and thin, sharp blade shot out from the front of the fan, stabbing right at Yi Chun's face. If he were to be stabbed by this sharp blade, it would be inevitable for his face to explode. Is that so? His left hand moved like lightning as Yi Chun's 2 fingers blocked the sharp blade. Since his opponent had attacked right next to the gold sword, his power would inevitably be weaker. Yi Chun's 2 fingers had not only blocked the sharp blade, but had also ended his opponent's attack. Unless he gave up on his fan, he would not be able to form another powerful attack in a short period of time. Not good. Lan Xieching let go of his hand without hesitation and backed out. Unfortunately, Yi Chun would not give him the chance. He held the gold sword in his right hand and waved it up. That crescent-shaped gold sword chi had blown his opponent miles away. Eventually, he slid on the lake water and puked out 3 mouthfuls of blood. His face was extremely pale. In the 9th attack, Yi Chun had taken away his opponent's weapon cleanly and wounded him severely. Impressive, Snow Sword Master gasped. The leader of the rank 6 martial institution next to her asked, "Leader Imo, what is so impressive about him? How come I feel that he did not use any powerful sword attacks?" Snow Sword Master said, "It is because he did not use any powerful sword attacks that he is so powerful. Let me ask you, have you seen through him?" "Not at all." "That is right. He did not even use 80% of his power when fighting with Lan Xiecheng. In other words, he is even more powerful than when he fought with Lin Tian. Around a nine-dragon lake, everyone started to discuss. He is indeed the #1 warrior, just below the top 5 young warriors. He beat Lan Xiecheng so easily, and I did not even see any powerful attacks. For example, that sword attack of Tai Shicheng's was extremely powerful, and that despairing blade attack of Doviju was even more powerful. Lan Xiecheng's Fog Ocean attack was even more powerful. His reputation is not just for show. I don't think anyone would doubt his power anymore. After this battle, Yi Chun had established his position. There would be no lack of challengers in the future, but no one would doubt his power. Yi Chun, you're indeed my most powerful opponent. Dogujue watched this battle with a serious look on his face. Dantai Mingyue was a woman after all, and the battle between a woman and a man would be slightly different from the battle between men. It was an undeniable fact, and it was not because he looked down on women. Chapter 602. Yi Chun did not continue to chase after Lin Ku. Holding his gold sword, he stood in the air and stared at the cold-looking young man and the one with the mole on his forehead, saying coldly, "What a troublemaker! It is the first time we have met, and you have already given people the title of troublemaker. It seems like you're quite good at using it. When exchanging pointers, one should stop when the time is right. Don't you think that breaking his arm is too vicious, too vicious? If everyone was like you, how could the Tianwu domain be peaceful?" The youth with the red mole on his forehead seemed to be throbbing, his expression stern. Hee. Yi Chun could not help but laugh. If it were me who had lost my arm, would you still say that? Or would you just ignore it? The round-faced young man said, "It was you who lost an arm, so we'll naturally reprimand him. However, I believe in Leng Ye's character, and he naturally has his reasons for dealing with you. All right, surrender now, and we'll spare your worthless life. We'll merely cripple you, and you won't be able to do anything in our hands. Don't struggle in vain, as struggling will only make you die faster." Scold him? Yi Chun couldn't help but laugh as he shook his head, his eyes turning cold. To be honest, you two are not qualified to uphold justice, because you are just two evil dogs. If you don't piss off, I'll skin you alive. Hearing him, everyone was shocked and could not help but suck in a cold breath. They had never seen anyone who dared to talk to Mu Yunhe and Lin Tian like this, calling them evil dogs. It should be known that Lin Tian and Mu Yunhe were the top young warriors below the top 5 young warriors, not something Duan Lingya and Lin Ku could compare with. Of course, Yi Chun had also recognized Lin Tian and Mu Yunhe. Their strength was about the same, and they were even more powerful than Tai Shicheng, one of the top 3 sword masters. Before breaking through, he would definitely not be their opponent. Perhaps only Yin Fengfeng with her real strength would be able to compete with them. Unfortunately, for some unknown reason, Yin Fengfeng rarely showed her real body in front of others. She had only shown it once during the fight for the longevity fruit in the Dragon Cave. "What did you say?" The round-faced young man's face turned pale. He did not expect Yi Chun to say something like that. Who was he? He was the head disciple of the prison martial school, one of the top 5 young warriors. Except for the top 5 young warriors, no one could beat him. At most, they would be on par with him. And Yi Chun was just a new rising star. No one knew where he got the chance to beat Duan Lingya and Lin Ku. "I dare you to say that again." Mu Yunhe's eyes were spitting fire. Lin Tian's expression also became cold, his killing intent soaring into the sky. "I said you two are evil dogs." Yi Chun's voice was so loud that it could be heard over half of West Tomb City. "This guy is going against the heavens." Lin Ku, who was on the side, widened his eyes and shuddered. As for Duan Lingya, he had already fainted. Courting death, Mu Yunhe furiously roared, and Zhen Yuan erupted from his back, turning into multicolored clouds. His body was like a 1,000-year-old ferocious crane as he shuttled through the clouds. His 5 fingers spread open as if he was about to lift Yi Chun's head. This move didn't have any other profound mysteries, only speed. A ferocious bird hunting was extremely fast. Mu Yunhe was 10 times faster than even the most ferocious bird. His claws even more so extended out blood-colored radiance, tearing through the air, piercing through metal and stone, incomparably sinister. Piss off. Raising his gold sword, Yichun simply slashed down. Watch me take your sword. Mu Yunhe did not expect Yichun to react so fast, but it was not as if he did not have a backup plan. He flicked his wrist, trying to grab Yi Chen's gold sword. Unfortunately, Yi Chen's sword speed was just too fast, and he could not change his attack in time. Left with no other choice, he turned his claws into palms and shot out palm power. Boom! The huge sound was like two burning meteors crashing into each other. The sky above Xiling shook, and the entire space seemed like it was about to collapse. In the sky, a figure was blown down, blood spurting out of his mouth. It's Mu Yunhe. Everyone was shocked to find that the injured person was Mu Yunhe, cut down by Yi Chen's sword. What is going on? Did Mu Yunhe underestimate his opponent? Even if he underestimated his opponent, he should not be this miserable. Look, Yi Chen is not moving at all. Not only were the spectators shocked, but Lin Ku was also shocked and took a step back. Lin Tian's eyes shrunk, filled with killing intent and fear. Thump! Mu Yunhe staggered on the street and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Each step caused the street to crack and the houses to collapse. Impossible! What kind of power is this? Mu Yunhe's chin was stained with blood as he stared at Yi Chen in the sky. Even Mu Yunhe is not Yi Chen's opponent. How shocking. Although Murong Qingsheng had never been to the Sky Martial region, she knew some of the geniuses there, such as the 5 young warriors and the 3 young sword masters. Mu Yunhe's strength was second only to the 5 young warriors, but he was at least in the top 15. Apart from the 5 young warriors, there were less than 2 people who could compare to him, and only the 5 young warriors could injure him in one move. Mu Yunhe, if you know what's good for you, then get the hell out of Xiling City. Just now, Mu Yunhe had approached Yi Chen, which was equivalent to close-range combat. Yi Chen's current close-range combat was heaven-defying. He had 400,000 pounds of strength, and with his Zhen Yuan, his offense was even scarier than when he used the dual sword style. You're also a bit stronger in close-range combat. I will not fight you in close-range combat. Let's see how you block my attacks. Mu Yunhe furiously roared. His figure rose from the ground, and his 2 claws repeatedly waved, shooting out countless blood-red claws at Yi Chen. Break! Yi Chen held the gold sword with both hands and slashed down. A long sawtooth light wave shot upward, cleanly destroying the bloody claw imprints. However, Mu Yunhe was not Lin Ku, nor was he Duanlin. His cultivation base had already reached late C of Soul Realm, and his Zhen Yuan was incomparably vigorous. Each of his moves contained an immeasurable might. The sawtooth light wave shattered the bloody claw imprints, but quickly dissipated without any effect. Shattering Yuan hand, Mu Yunhe's figure flickered, appearing even higher in the sky. His right hand spread open and fiercely pressed down on Yi Chen. Rumble. The space seemed to have caved in like mud. In the next moment, a scarlet palm descended from the sky, suffused with a bloody light. In a short moment, the scarlet palm grew larger and larger, almost covering the sky. It seemed as if it was going to crush Yi Chen and crush him into powder. This guy's will and profound are similar to Duanlinya's, but his Zhen Yuan is a small realm higher. His battle power is incomparable. However, if you don't engage in close combat, how will you defeat me? Any attack that approaches me, I can use my physical strength to destroy it. Gotcha! When the scarlet palm was less than 10 meters away from Yi Chen exerted strength in both of his arms. The gold sword slashed upward, and the scarlet palm was shattered. With a swish, Yi Chen rushed out of the opening and arrived above the scarlet palm. The scarlet palm behind him disappeared like smoke. You broke my shattering Yuan hand just like that? Mu Yunhe was stunned for a split second. Impossible. Although body refinement experts are powerful, they don't have such reaction speed or insight. Moreover, my shattering Yuan hand has the power to suppress the opponent. I can only use 80% of my power at most. Now it's my turn to counterattack. 5 sword lights appeared around his body. With a flash, Yi Chen's speed reached a level that even Mu Yunhe could not match. In an instant, he had reached 30 times the speed of sound. When he was at the peak of early sea of Soul Realm, Yi Chen's speed was close to 25 times the speed of sound. Now that he was at the peak of mid-sea of Soul Realm, his Zhen Yuan quantity and purity had increased by a level. With a flicker, Yi Chen arrived beside Mu Yunhe. No, Mu Yunhe's reaction was not slow, and he subconsciously waved his palm to meet the attack. Go up. Unexpectedly, Yi Chen did not wave his sword with his right hand. Instead, he held the long sword at his waist with his left hand and slashed upward. A blazing lightning sword energy swept out. Crack! As if struck by lightning, Mu Yunhe spurted out a huge mouthful of blood as his body was flung back. Unable to withstand a single blow, absolutely unable to withstand a single blow. The spectators below didn't expect the famous Mu Yunhe to be unable to withstand a single blow from Yi Chen. It would have been fine if Yi Chen didn't take the initiative to attack, but the moment he did, Mu Yunhe didn't even have a chance to counterattack. He could only passively take a beating. Enough! Lin Tian, who had been biding his time, could no longer watch. Without any movement, his entire body soared into the sky like a treasured blade. Rip! With a slash, an earthen yellow blade light surged toward Yi Chen like a surging river. The blade aura was exceptionally powerful. Yi Chen gave up on Mu Yunhe and slashed apart the earthen yellow blade light. I admit that your strength is not bad. However, it's better not to be too arrogant. Lin Tian gloomily looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen sized up his opponent. He could sense that Lin Tian's cultivation base was the same as his peak mid-sea of Soul Realm. However, the latter's essence qi was like a beacon, soaring into the sky. This was a sign that his strength was exceptionally powerful. You're also a body refining expert. Try and you'll know. Lin Tian's gaze was cold. Brother Lin, cripple him for me. Mu Yunhe's clothes were tattered, and his chest was scorched black. He forcefully suppressed his heavily injured body and flew down, instructing Lin Tian. Lin Tian was different from him. The latter had cultivated body refining martial arts since childhood and was extremely talented in this aspect. Thus, he mainly cultivated strength, with Zhen Yuan as a support. Of course, the Lin family was one of the 4 great families, and they'd spent a huge amount of resources to raise his Zhen Yuan cultivation base to peak mid-sea of Soul Realm. With the combination of the two, Mu Yunhe had no choice but to admit that only by increasing the distance between them could he not be defeated. In close combat, he was not his opponent at all. However, thinking of Yi Chen, Mu Yunhe couldn't help but shiver. Did he mainly cultivate Zhen Yuan or strength? Both aspects were frighteningly powerful, simply breaking the balance. Don't worry. In close combat, I'm not afraid of anyone. Lin Tian replied. All right, I'll wait for your good news. Mu Yunhe clenched his fists and flew down with a pale complexion. Suddenly, he glanced at Murong Qingsheng and a sneer appeared on his face. Chapter 603. Yi Chen, who was hovering in the air, had no intention of letting Mu Yunhe go like this. He straightened his gold sword, and a ball of thunder energy traveled from the hilt to the tip, making the whole sword look like a lightning bolt. The end of the lightning was held in Yi Chen's hand, unable to escape. You dare! Lin Tian roared. Pap! Yi Chen ignored Lin Tian's warning and slashed down with his gold sword. Ever since Sky Thundercut reached completion, and from completion to 110%, it was no longer in the shape of a sword, but in the shape of a lightning bolt. A sharp lightning bolt suddenly struck down and struck Mu Yunhe's back, burning him black. His body stiffly fell on the roof of the West Hill restaurant, then slid down the roof and lay next to Duan Linya. Who the hell is this guy? Lin Ku already knew about Yi Chen's identity. The reason he said this was because Duan Linya and Mu Yunhe had fallen in Yi Chen's hands, and he himself had been heavily injured. He felt as if he was seeing Yi Chen for the first time. This kid is not easy to mess with. Duan Linya and Mu Yunhe have kicked an iron plate. Right, I still don't know his name. He seems to be in his early 20s, so he must have entered the Sea of Soul realm long ago. There are only 3 people who could do so at such a young age, Dugaju and Dantai Mingwe. We've seen their faces, so it can't be them. Then, there's only one person who fits the description, and he should be Yi-chun. Yi-chun? The monstrous Yi-chun whose name has spread throughout the whole Sky Martial region? 3 monstrous geniuses gathered in Sky Martial region. The future will be lively. Everyone sighed. In the sky, Lin Tian and Yi-chun stood 100 steps apart, facing each other. Very well, you've successfully angered me. Take this. Like a flying knife tearing through the air, Lin Tian rapidly approached Yi-chun. When he was 10 meters away from him, he gripped his knife hilt with both hands and slashed at Yi-chun with all his strength. The profound in this strike wasn't too profound. It was even inferior to Yi-chun's. However, Lin Tian didn't plan on relying on true essence or profound. What he poured into this strike was the terrifying strength that he was so proud of. Back off! A frightening roar rang out as the blade radiance appeared. Not necessarily. Also holding the gold sword with both of his hands, Yi-chun stepped forward with his right foot. He lowered his body and steadied his center of gravity. Deep inside his body, the dragon power flowed through his cells, bones, blood, and meridians like an erupting volcano, pouring into Yi-chun's arms. As Yi-chun yelled, he waved his gold sword and attacked. Clang! A deafening sound erupted. This sound could no longer be described as a sound in the world. If one had to describe it, it was like 2 metal meteorites that had been tempered by heavenly fire colliding together. The violent power was not restrained at all, and there was no hesitation as it collided with each other. Then it crazily squeezed and collided, as if it wanted to completely destroy this space. After the loud explosion, the sky above Western Tomb City changed, becoming like a transparent lake. Above the lake, distorted ripples spread out in all directions. Under the refraction of the sunlight, Western Tomb City was suddenly dyed in a myriad of colors, as if it were a dream. Boom! Even Yi-chun and Lin Tian couldn't handle the huge impact. They both backed out, trying to get rid of that power that made their bones creak. He is indeed a body training warrior. Yi-chun only managed to stop after backing out for a few hundred meters. Ripples spread out under his feet, looking like countless lotus flowers appearing and disappearing in the air. Subtracting the Zhen Yuan, profound, intent, and weapons, his power should be around 550,000 gene and not more than 600,000. However, his body's toughness is similar to mine, a rank 3 spirit body. It seems like his body's talent is better than mine, which means he can have more power. They both had rank 3 spirit bodies, but Yi-chun's limit was 400,000 gene, while Lin Tian's was 550,000 gene, or even more. Comparing the two, Yi-chun was far behind. Of course, Yi-chun and Lin Tian were different. The latter focused on power, while Yi-chun focused on Zhen Yuan. His profound and intent were much higher than Lin Tian's. His attacking power is above mine. Lin Tian backed out even further than Yi-chun, about 500 meters. Tiger Demon's secret blood art. Without hesitation, Lin Tian used a powerful secret art that would overdraft his physical strength and even life force. This secret art would allow him to break through the limits of his body and explode with even greater power. It had to be said that the human body was filled with endless mysteries. Even a weak old lady could carry a large bag of rice when her potential erupted, let alone Lin Tian, who was a body refinement expert. Lin Tianhuan's face was covered in blood-colored patterns, and his body was covered in them as well. His body was emitting an iron-blooded aura. Blue veins popped out on his arms like small snakes. Creak! Tightly holding onto the blade hilt, Lin Tianhuan's eyes locked onto Yi-chun, who was 700 meters away. His pupils shrank. There's a blood color in the essence chi smoke. This is a secret art that overdrafts one's potential. This kind of secret art only exists in the barbarian race. I didn't expect Lin Tian to have it too. Yi-chun didn't dare to be careless. He held the gold sword in his right hand and moved his left hand to his waist. Tiger Demon's Blade. Lin Tian had wandered in the barbarian race's territory before, and was fortunate enough to obtain a secret art that could overdraft one's potential. Relying on this secret art, he could even exchange 3 moves with Xiao Chuha, one of the top 5 young tycoons. Although he was defeated on the 4th move, it should be known that before he used the Tiger Demon's secret blood art, he couldn't even take 1 move from Xiao Chuha. However, the Tiger Demon's secret blood art side effects were too great, and he was not a barbarian. His body's foundation was very strong. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not use the Tiger Demon's secret blood art. This was his 3rd time using it, and he had to defeat Yi Chun. Otherwise, in a few days, the news of his defeat would spread throughout the Sky Martial region. At his level, he could not allow himself to be defeated by someone else. The Tiger Demon's hidden blood art was a secret technique that stimulated and overdraft one's potential. It also contained a saber technique. This saber technique was a saber technique that utilized vital force. It could condense all the strength in one's body into a single point and kill the opponent with a single strike. Whoosh! Raising his speed to the limit, Lin Tian's entire body was like a demonic tiger. The blood-colored patterns on his face looked extremely sinister. In his hand, the long blade sliced through the air, bringing with it a blood-colored blade light. With a thunderous momentum, it slashed out as fast as a blood-colored lightning. Lose! Lin Tian roared. The one who will lose is you. Yi Chun lowered his body like a hibernating dragon that was about to break free. Whoosh! The gold sword slashed out vertically, while the long sword in his left hand slashed out diagonally. Yi Chun rushed forward, clashing with Lin Tian. The moment the two clashed, the 2 swords perfectly crossed, lighting up the entire West Tomb City. Clang! 2 swords and 1 blade fiercely clashed, wantonly releasing a berserk power. The owners of the 2 fiercely glared at each other, the muscles on their arms bulging out. Chapter 604. Through the demonic tiger's secret blood art, Lin Tian's current offensive power was faintly surpassing Yi Chun's. The moment they clashed, he felt that the situation was in his favor, and a cold smile appeared on his face. However, that smile soon froze. Yi Chun's 2 swords crossed, and a thumb-sized thunderball appeared. This thunderball was dark blue in color, and the lightning it emitted was also dark blue in color. Countless zigzagging lightning bolts shot out, turning the area within 1,000 meters into a lightning zone. Bang! The thunderball's expanding speed surpassed Lin Tian's reaction. The thumb-sized thunderball instantly expanded several hundred times, then several thousand times. The resulting explosive power sent Lin Tian flying, and he felt as if all the bones in his body had been shattered. Moreover, he felt an intense numbness. The 2 clashed and then separated. Swish! The impact Yi Chun received was far less than Lin Tian. After retreating 100 meters, he stomped on the void and turned into a sword light. Not good. Lin Tian's muscles were numb, and he could only use 30 to 40% of his power. Forcibly resisting would only result in failure. Heaven Sieve Armor, release. At this critical moment, Lin Tian's protective Zhenyuan thickened by several inches, looking like a layer of glass. Meanwhile, the outline of a mysterious armor appeared within Lin Tian's robes. As the armor's outline appeared, mysterious runes appeared on the protective Zhenyuan. These runes were connected by fine threads and slowly revolved around Lin Tian. Half-step extreme-grade armor. Yi Chun abruptly stopped his momentum. With the Heaven Sieve armor protecting me, I'm already in an invincible position. If this goes on, you'll lose without a doubt. Originally, Lin Tian didn't intend to use the Heaven Sieve armor. As far as he was concerned, apart from the 5 young tycoons, no one was worthy of him using it. Half-step extreme-grade armor. This time, Yi Chun is in trouble. If he can't break the Heaven Sieve armor's defense, he won't be able to injure Lin Tian. Moreover, Lin Tian can attack without any restraint. If this goes on, Yi Chun will lose for sure. I heard that Lin Tian obtained the Sky Sieve armor from the Treasure Holy Pagoda. I wonder which level did he reach? No one looked at Lin Tiandong with disdain for using the Heaven Civ armor to protect himself. To a cultivator, artifacts were also a part of one's strength. If everything was fair, then it would be unfair. After all, some artifacts were obtained by people who risked their lives to obtain them. Yichun sized up Lin Tian's barrier and said, "Forget it. I don't have much enmity with you. Let's call it a day. I only hope that you won't provoke me in the future." Crippling Duan Lingya was more than enough. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Yichun did not want to offend the Lin family, one of the top 4 families in the world. It was not necessary. "You want to leave?" Lin Tian's face was filled with anger. He indeed didn't have much enmity with Yichun, and Lin Ku was only slightly injured. He would be able to fully recover after a month or 2 of recuperation. However, his injuries could recover, but his reputation couldn't. Today, he definitely couldn't allow Yichun to leave safely. He, Lin Tian, couldn't lose. "What? You want to fight with me?" Yichun's eyebrows twitched. "Yichun, could it be that you're afraid? Artifacts are also a part of power. My brother being able to obtain the Heaven Civ armor is his own ability. No one will say anything." Below, Lin Ku's voice was heard, carrying a hint of pride. Lin Tian's expression also relaxed as he looked at Yichun with a mocking expression. Yichun chuckled. "Me afraid? Since you want to fight, I'll accompany you." Buzz. The storage ring flickered with a dim light, and a dark blue, domineering sword appeared in Yichun's right hand. This sword had not yet been unsheathed, but the air was already filled with destructive lightning arcs. "What? Semi-extreme greatsword?" Lin Tian cried out in shock. Everyone's expression changed as well, especially Lin Ku. He wanted to say something, but he immediately shut his mouth, his face full of shock. "Chin." Unsheathing the Thunder Disaster Sword, the sword's body flickered like lightning. Yichun looked straight at Lin Tian and said indifferently, "Lin Tian, if you want to fight, let's fight. I'm not afraid." "Damn it. How come he also has a semi-extreme grade artifact?" Lin Tian cursed inwardly. "What? You're giving up?" Yichun saw Lin Tian's flickering gaze. "Give up? How is that possible? Today, you and I must decide who's stronger." At this point, Lin Tian already had no way out. He could only fight. If he didn't fight, it would be more humiliating than losing. "I'd like to see whether your semi-extreme greatsword is sharper or my Heaven Civ armor's defense is stronger." Demonic Tiger Blade. The Demonic Tiger's secret blood arts effect was still ongoing. Lin Tian roared and raised his blade with both hands, slashing at Yichun's blade. Breaking your defense is a piece of cake. Yichun didn't plan to clash head-on with the opponent. The latter was a body-refining expert who liked to clash head-on. However, Yichun wasn't. His previous clash was merely to test the limits of his offense. Now, he already knew the result. It was time to thoroughly defeat the opponent. Swish! With a flash of sword light, Yichun raised his speed to the limit and suddenly appeared on Lin Tian's right side. The Thunder Disaster Sword pierced forward, using the perfected amaranthine nature. The rune-covered barrier caved in a bit, and its edges had spiderweb-like cracks. It looked like a transparent glass that was about to shatter. Seeing that Yichun didn't want to clash head-on, Lin Tian promptly waved his blade. However, what was cut was only an afterimage. Golden, resonant radiance. In the sky, Yichun slashed down with his sword upside down. A dazzling golden sword-shaped light wave with sharp sawteeth cut at Lin Tian's barrier. Sung, 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 sung. Sung, 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 sung. Dazzling sparks flew everywhere, and Lin Tian's barrier was almost cut open. At the crucial moment, he waved his blade upward, shattering the sawtooth light wave. As the sawtooth light wave was shattered, a smile appeared on Yichun's face. Lin Tian's barrier was weaker than he had imagined. It seemed like the opponent indeed specialized in strength. Therefore, although the latter's Jin Yuan cultivation base was the same as his at the peak of mid-sea of Soul Realm, it wasn't as solid as his, nor was it as pure as his. Moreover, artifacts required Jin Yuan to activate. Clearly, he couldn't activate the Heaven Civ armor to its limit. Shwa 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 shwa. Yi Chun circled around Lin Tian. Lin Tian's reaction wasn't slow either. Out of the 3 times, he managed to parry 2 of Yi Chun's attacks. Here's my chance. A feint triggered Lin Tian's counterattack. Yi Chun once again crossed his 2 swords and slashed at Lin Tian's barrier. Creak creak. A crisscross sword scar appeared on the barrier, growing larger and larger as it penetrated inside. As the lightning ball shot out, the barrier shattered like an egg, unable to hold on any longer. The huge recoil caused Lin Tian to bleed from his 7 orifices. The blood-colored patterns on his face also dimmed and disappeared, returning to his body. The Tiger Demon's secret blood art could not be used indefinitely. Being able to last until now meant that the side effects were not small. With so many internal and external problems, Lin Tian would be in a weakened state for a very long time. Lin Tian lost. Duan Linya, Lin Ku, Mu Yunhe, and Lin Tian. The 4 of them fought with Yi Chun one after another, and they all lost miserably. I dare to bet that in less than 3 months, Yi Chun's name will shake the world, and his fame will catch up to the 5 young tycoons. Do I need you to say that? To be able to defeat Mu Yunhe and Lin Tian, it would be hard for him not to become famous. As the crowd discussed, Yi Chun flew to Murong Qingqing's side, and then he glanced at Lin Ku in the restaurant. Lin Ku noticed Yi Chun's gaze and was startled. He was heavily wounded, and many of his meridians were broken. He couldn't even take 1 attack from Yi Chun. Let's go. Yi Chun didn't plan to continue chasing after Lin Ku. After all, Duan Linya was the main culprit, and the others were just accomplices. As Yi Chun and Murong Qingqing left, Lin Ku let out a sigh of relief. They were finally gone. Glancing at Mu Yunhe, Duan Linya, and his brother, who was even more heavily wounded than him, Lin Ku let out a bitter laugh. This time, they had truly lost everything. Who would have thought that Yi Chun would become so powerful in just a few months? In the past, when they fought with Hai Wuya, they always had the upper hand. Only when Yin Feng Feng was there would they not be able to gain the upper hand. But now that Yi Chun was here, they didn't even have the qualifications to fight. What frightened him the most was that a few months ago, Yi Chun was not his opponent at all. In a month, the incident in West Tomb City had spread throughout the whole Sky Marshal region. Everyone knew that there was a person called Yi Chun who had defeated Lin Ku, Duan Linya, Mu Yunhe, and Lin Tian. His strength had shocked all the geniuses. Dugu family inside a quiet courtyard. Yi Chun, I didn't expect you to improve so fast. Right now, I am indeed not your opponent. But this is just the beginning. Once I have the qualifications to challenge Xiao Chuha, I will challenge you as well. Sitting under a tree, Dugu Ju's eyes shone brightly. One could see that compared to 2 months ago, Dugu Ju Jinyuan had become much richer, reaching the peak of mid-sea of Soul's realm. During the battle with Tai Shichong, he had just broken through to mid-sea of Soul's realm, and he didn't have the time to consolidate his cultivation base. Therefore, he couldn't use any treasures to increase his cultivation base to the peak of mid-sea of Soul's realm. Today, Yi Chun's incident in West Tomb City had spread to the Dugu family, and then to him through his cousin Dugu Ming. When he first heard the news, he was shocked as well. But he soon calmed down, since it didn't matter much at the moment, since everyone was making progress. It was just a matter of how much progress they made. As far as Dugu Ju was concerned, only when one couldn't make any progress would the winner be decided. After all, every level had its limits. For example, one Jin Yuan cultivation base could only reach the peak of late sea of Soul's realm at most, and one's profound could only reach the mid-rank profound at most. Normally, ones would reach the peak of the 4th step, and those who could break through to the 5th step were few and far between. The top 5 young warriors had basically reached the point where they couldn't make any progress. Therefore, they were the most powerful among the young warriors. Even Lin Tian, who was close to the top 5 young warriors, couldn't handle a few attacks from Xiao Chuha. Therefore, the top 5 young warriors stood at the peak of this level. If they wanted to catch up, they would have to reach the point where they couldn't make any progress. Chapter 605. Only 3 more spirit plants, and then I will have all the materials needed to make the antidote for the shadowless poison. Inside the mountain that was covered in fog, there was a small town. Normally, there would not be a single person in the town, but today, there were a lot of people walking out of the town. Among the crowd, a young couple was walking side by side. The man was wearing blue robes, with a long sword hanging on his waist, and the girl was wearing a purple dress, with a light veil covering her face. It was indeed Yi Chun and Murong Qingcheng, who had left the West Hill City about a month ago. Yi Chun said, after letting out a breath. Murong Qingcheng glanced at Yi Chun, pressed her lips together, and said, I did not expect you to be able to collect so many materials in such a short time. There's still 3 more, so it should not take too long. Thank you. Her mother, Su Ruhui, had been poisoned by the shadowless poison, which had been weighing on Murong Qingcheng's mind for a long time. In fact, if she had not been distracted, she could have reached the Sea of Souls realm much earlier. After Su Ruhui's help, she was finally able to focus on her closed-door training, and finally reached the Sea of Souls realm 2 months ago. She originally thought that Yi Chun would not be able to collect that many materials by himself, but she did not expect that Yi Chun would put so much effort into it, and manage to collect almost all of the precious materials. When she arrived, he was still missing 5 materials, but now he was only missing 3. Yi Chun chuckled and did not say anything more. He changed the topic. I did not expect that there would be a small town like this in the middle of nowhere. If I did not get the information from the pavilion, I would have missed the 2 materials that I just got. The small town was called the Bear Mountain Town, which was located at the border between the Sky Marshal region and the North region. No one had lived there for hundreds of years, and then it became a place for a secret auction to deal with some shady items. The time of the auction was not fixed. Sometimes it would be held once every few months, and sometimes it would not be held even once every few years. Through the pavilion, Yi Chun and Murong Qingcheng knew that there was going to be an auction here, so they rushed over from hundreds of thousands of miles away. A group of people stood on a tall building near the town's gate. Did you see that? It's the 2 of them. At the auction, that kid spent hundreds of thousands of upper-level spirit stones to buy 2 spirit grasses without even blinking. I'm guessing that he has more upper-level spirit stones on him. The person who spoke raised a finger. 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. The person beside him said subconsciously, Wrong. It's 1,000,000 upper spiritual stones. 1,000,000? That's too much. Perhaps his wealth has already been depleted. I've been in the auction house for so many years, how could I be blind? Apart from Life and Death Kings, I haven't seen anyone below Life and Death King realm. No matter how high their strength is, they will always reveal some clues. From their eyes, facial expressions, and even some small movements, I can guess their net worth. For example, if you have 100,000 upper grade spirit stones, if you spend 90,000 upper grade spirit stones to buy something, you will definitely feel heartache. You will unconsciously make a move, but you won't be aware of it. That sounds reasonable. You said that brat spent hundreds of thousands of top-ranked spirit stones, but he did not feel heartache at all. Therefore, I can guess that his net worth is around 1,000,000. Indeed, this is a big deal. I am just afraid that we will not be able to afford it. Everyone who dares to come to this town must have something up their sleeves. This brat must be a powerful martial genius from the Sky Marshal region. Unfortunately, I have never seen him before. If you haven't seen him before, it means that he is not that famous. As long as he is not one of those famous young warriors, we will have a 100% chance of succeeding. Even if it is a famous young warrior, the success rate would be above 60%. Fortune comes from danger, not to mention that we still have 3 godly martial puppet cannons. Damn, let's do it. Yi Chun's fame had only started to spread throughout the Sky Marshal region this month. The Barren Ridge town was located at the border between the Sky Marshal region and the North region. There were a lot of people who did not know about Yi Chun. We were almost out of the fog hidden magic array. Yi Chun and Yi Chun did not fly into the air. The Barren Ridge town was surrounded by a huge fog hidden magic array. Inside the fog hidden magic array, one could only walk out or in step by step. Once they flew into the air, it would be very easy for them to get lost in the thick fog, which would be a waste of time. This was also the reason why the barren ridge town was chosen as the location for the secret auction. Watch out! Yichin suddenly grabbed Murong Qingqing's hand and stepped back. Boom! A glaring red light landed on the ground in front of the two of them. In an instant, a huge pit appeared out of thin air. It had a diameter of 100 meters and a depth of more than 50 meters. The exposed surface of the pit was crystallized, and the soil had been burned into crystals. Puppet cannon, Yichun and Murong Qingqiang stepped back very fast. They were only hit by the shockwave, which was not a big deal. However, the power of the red light made them look serious. If they did not step back in time, the red light would have landed on them. Even if they did not die, they would have been crippled. Damn it, they dodged it. Let's fire together. I do not believe that they can fly away. 3 miles away, a group of people spread out. In front of them were 3 huge puppet cannons. There were wheels on the bottom of the cannons, and their bodies were dark red with complicated patterns carved on them. There was a circle on the top of the cannons, which had a white crystal embedded in it. There was a human shadow on the crystal, which was obviously Yi Chun and Murong Qingqing. Boom, boom, boom. The puppet cannons vibrated, and 3 eye-piercing red light shot out like 3 burning meteors in the fog, aiming right at the 2 people who were a few miles away. After dodging 2 of the red light, the third one seemed to be unavoidable. Yichin took out his Thunder Disaster Sword and threw out a sword attack, hitting right in the middle of the red light. Swoosh! He had already used his Gold Resonant Radiance sword attack this time, which sliced the red light in half. The 2 weaker ones landed on the left and right sides, exploding into a huge flame. Strange. How did they manage to aim at us? Yichin was curious, since this fog-hidden spell had the effect of weakening soul power as well. Based on his estimation, it would be around 100 times. With Yichin's powerful soul power, he could only shoot it out 5 miles away. Most of the Sea of Souls realm warriors could only reach 1 mile. But, according to his senses, the attacker was 3 miles away, which meant that they would be able to aim at them from 3 miles away. Darkness Sky. With both of her hands wrapped in a black chi, Murong Qingqiang pushed up a semicircular black shield, protecting Yi Chun and herself within. What? Gone? On top of the white crystal, Yi Chun and Murong Qingqiang had disappeared. In their eyes, it was something unimaginable, since it was not a normal crystal. It was a precious crystal that could sense life. It was not originally mounted on the godly martial puppet cannon, but they had gotten it from some ruins. They had suddenly thought of putting it on the cannon, which was like adding wings to a tiger. They had used it to attack countless master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors who were more powerful than them. It must be some kind of secret art. Damn, let's go. This thing is troublesome. This group of people left without hesitation, putting away the godly martial puppet cannon and disappearing without a trace. They are gone. The moment the black screen was erected, the red light did not attack again. Yichin guessed that it was probably because the Dark Profound had the ability to block out the senses. After all, his soul power had been weakened 80 to 90% by the black screen. When Murong Qingqiang dispersed the black screen, Yichin realized that there was no one 3 li away from him. This Dark Profound of yours is indeed powerful. Yichin praised. Murong Qingqiang said, unfortunately, there's only one defensive martial art. Being able to learn the Dark Profound will benefit me a lot. In the future, I will be able to create my own profound martial art based on the characteristics of the Dark Profound. Ever since the Sky Thundercut and Gold Resonant Radiant Sword art had both reached completion, reaching 130% respectively, Yichun had already started to study new sword movements. After all, the Sky Thundercut and the Gold Resonant Radiant Sword art were a bit too low, unable to contain the Thunder Profound and Gold Profound. In Yi Chen's eyes, the sword movements were like a container, and the Profound was the water. Once the water was full, it would be completed. But once the water overflowed, it meant that the Profound had surpassed the sword movements level, since there were still mid-rank Profound sword movements above the low-rank Profound. Who are you people? Dozens of miles away, The group of people who had tried to sneak attack Yichun and Murong Qinsheng had been stopped by a group of men in black robes. These people's bodies were very vague, looking like black smoke or floating shadows, giving people the feeling that they did not have any mass. The leading man laughed. The puppet cannon is not bad. Leave it, and I will not kill you. Why? Before he could finish, the leading man's body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the crowd. Shoo! 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 After a couple of rounds, the group of people who were planning to sneak attack Yichun and Murong Qinsheng had all fallen down, their chests pierced through. Taking away these people's storage rings, the leading man opened them one by one and soon found 3 godly martial puppet cannons. Not bad. These 3 cannons are the top rank puppets. Another man in black said, I did not expect this group of trash to have puppet cannons. But it seems like we have gotten lucky. The puppet cannons are an unexpected gain. But killing that young man named Yichun and taking that girl is our real goal this time. That Yichun is not simple. No wonder he could take off Duan Lingya's right arm and make the ice pavilion angry. They took out 2 million top-ranked soul stones to hire our assassins. That price is enough to kill 10 normal master level C of Soul's Realm warriors. No, not 2 million top-ranked soul stones. It is 3 million. Don't forget, all of their wealth is ours as well. Second leader, when should we do it? No rush. Taking that girl would be easy. As for killing Yichun, it would be a bit difficult. I did not want to lose half of our men just to complete the mission. It would not fit our motto. Either we do not kill, or we do not kill. We, the assassins of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion, have never failed in our mission in the past 10 years. Unfortunately, that girl, once we hand her over to the Ice Pavilion, she would be doomed. What can we do? We're paid to do it. Plus, you guys are not good people either. I do not believe that you would not be tempted. Second leader, you are so smart. Chapter 606. Among the top 10 cities in the world, the Sky Martial region had 4. The Xianming city was a super city near the northern regions. Within the Xianming city, it snowed all year round, and the weather was dark and gloomy. There were often strong gusts of wind that could blow away houses that were not very sturdy, and could also blow ordinary people with low cultivation into the sky. In a manner in the city, Yichun and Murong Qinsheng had been living a peaceful life. When they were free, they would make tea and chat, and forget about each other. Of course, the two did not forget to cultivate. On the empty ground of the manor covered in snow, Yichun held a normal sword in his hand. His body moved, and the sword light danced in the air. Beams of gold light shot out from the tip of the sword. Sword art does not have to be as complicated as possible. It should be as close to the profound as possible. If I can get close to the profound, I will get twice the result with half the effort. If I can't get close to the profound, I will get half the result with twice the effort. The metal profound is all about sharpness, but I always feel that it is missing something. The metal yuan qi turned into sword qi crisscrossed, and with a few cracking sounds, the thick layer of frost on the surface of the lake was cut open. The lake water surged up, and as the sword qi increased, the frost was broken into pieces, and some of it was directly turned into powder by the sword qi, turning into ice water. In the lake, circles of ripples spread out. Inadvertently glancing at the lake, Yichun stopped what he was doing and stared at the ripples on the lake. Metal, water, right? Metal gives birth to water. Something in Yichun's mind seemed to have been opened, and he suddenly understood. Generally speaking, gold begets water, water begets wood, wood begets fire, fire begets earth, and earth begets gold. Generally speaking, gold mines are always found near rivers, which means that wherever there is gold, there must be water. As for gold begets water, it doesn't mean that when the metal melts, it will turn into liquid metal. Instead, when the metal is left for a period of time, there will be water droplets on the surface of the metal. In a deeper sense, the metal's temperature will moisturize the metal. Therefore, if one wanted to create a sword movement that was more suitable for the metal profound, they couldn't just focus on the metal element, but also on the water element. After figuring out the breakthrough, Yichun continued to practice his sword art. It could be seen that Yi Chen's sword art no longer pursued sharpness and fierceness. Gradually, there was a gentleness to it. This gentleness did not make the sharpness of the sword art dissipate. Instead, it made the sword art more resilient and offensive, increasing its lethality. 3 days later, roar! A crisp sound of a sword rang out. Yi Chen waved his sword, and a few streaks of golden sword chi spread out like ripples towards the fake mountain next to the lake. The rockery did not move at all. With a smile on his face, Yi Chen pushed out with his left hand, and a palm wind blew out. Swoosh! The fake mountain was shattered into pieces, falling onto the ground. The cut was smooth and clean, as if it had been carefully polished. There was not even a single speck of dust on it. Normally, when he used his gold profound sword art to cut, there would be some dust. That was because the sword chi was too sharp and aggressive, which made the power spread out. The gentleness had made the sword chi even more condensed. This attack is still in its early stages, but I have finally found the right path. Since it was inspired by water, I will call it Gold Pattern. Gold Pattern. It was the first mid-rank profound sword art that Yi Chen had created. Its power was twice as powerful as the gold resonant radiant sword art, and that was because it had not been completed yet. Once it was completed, even normal mid-rank profound martial arts would not be able to reach such a level of power, because this attack was no longer just a simple gold profound sword art. On this day, the sky was clear, which was rare for it to be. White snow covered the sky, and everything was covered in silver. I have been here for a couple of days, and I still have not had the chance to walk around the Xianming city. Let's go for a walk. After spending some time together, the relationship between Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng had developed naturally. The two were enjoying each other's warmth as they walked out of the mansion hand in hand. Xianming City was one of the top 10 cities in the world, so the flow of people was astonishing. Once the sky cleared up, the streets were filled with people. There were martial artists with sabers and swords, peddlers and servants, travel-worn merchants, and young masters and ladies of rich families. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng walked in the crowd, looking like cranes among chickens. After walking for a while, the two arrived at a restaurant and sat by the window. Have you heard? On the 18th of September, Xia Hozuan from the Godly Finger Martial School is going to battle with Bai Wuxiwe on the Nine-Dragon Mountain. Suddenly, someone said a shocking piece of news. What? Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxiwe are going to battle? Is this news true? Of course it is. Right now, this news has spread all over the Sky Martial region. The Xianming city is located in the north of the region, so it would take a bit longer for the news to arrive. The top 5 young warriors challenging each other is such a grand occasion. Normally, they would not do it in a big way and would only do it in the dark. Once they challenge each other, they would have to have a winner, and it would be very intense. In the past 5 years, only the Sword Master had challenged Xiao Chua once. That time, it was the Sword Master who was slightly more powerful, wounding Xiao Chua with one sword attack. But I heard that Xiao Chua's power had already grown to an unpredictable level. So, I would not say that he is weaker than the Sword Master. Moreover, Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxiwe have never revealed their full power. I did not expect that they would challenge each other this time. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng heard all of these people, and they could not help but be interested. The 18th of September. There is still 1.5 months from now. Murong Qingcheng said. Yi Chen said, I have seen Bai Wuxiwe once before. His power is unpredictable, and his aura is everywhere. He is much more powerful than Lin Tian, Mu, and Yun He. The top 5 young warriors should all be at the peak of the Sea of Souls realm. If they continue to break through, they would be heading toward the life and death realm. I wonder if those famous master-level warriors from the older generation would be able to compete with these 5? Murong Qingcheng said. Yi Chen shook his head. There might not be many who could beat the top 5 young warriors. Of course, it is not like there are none. The leader of the Dragon God Celestial Palace, Zhang Jingguang, is already close to the top 5 young warriors. As for the other 4 palaces, such as the Black Dragon Palace, Azure Dragon Palace, White Dragon Palace, and Red Dragon Palace, There might be some palace leaders who are as powerful as the top 5 young warriors, or even more powerful. There are also the top 3 blade master-level warriors. Xiao Chuha had only beaten one of them, Shun Qianlang. Yeah, Murong Qingsheng nodded and laughed. Right now, there are rumors in the Sky Martial region saying that you are the #1 warrior just below the top 5 young warriors. Even Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingwe have been left behind by you. Yichen chuckled. That is not necessarily true. You know that I have improved really fast in the past couple of months, and now I have slowed down. So, the others must have their periods of rapid improvement and slow improvement as well. Sometimes it does not mean much. As the two were talking, the restaurant became more and more lively. You guys, who do you think is stronger? Xia Hozuan or Bai Wuxiue? That is hard to say. Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxiue both have their own glorious sides. Xia Hozuan is one of the top master-level warriors in finger arts, while Bai Wuxiue is the only Sea of Souls realm warrior who made it out of the blood-crying ghost region alive in the past 20 years. Without a battle, it would be hard to tell who is stronger. Although that is the case, I still think Xia Hozuan will win. You did not see his finger art. It is so shocking. I heard that it is something called the Void-Shattering Finger, which contains the Space Profound. Space Profound. Gasps were heard one after another. Yichen's pupils had shrunk as well. Yichen, what is it? Murong Qingsheng asked. Yichen forced a smile and said, You should know that I have a finger art, which also contains the Space Profound. It is called the Void-Shattering Finger. If I have guessed it right, Xia Hozuan's Void-Shattering Finger and my Void-Shattering Finger come from the same source. There are 2 movements of the Void-Shattering Finger. 2 movements of the Void-Shattering Finger? So, besides the 2 of you, there might be other Void-Shattering Finger arts out there? Yichen said, I do not know how many movements of the Void-Shattering Finger art Xia Hozuan has, but he and I will cross paths in the future. I just do not know where things will go. The Void-Shattering Finger art and the white key that he got from the Goat Head Mountain contained a shocking treasure. Until now, Yichen still did not know what it represented. He vaguely knew that it was a graveyard, the graveyard of a titled emperor. Of course, it was just a literal understanding, and no one knew what it actually was. After all, there were just too few clues. Then, you should try not to expose your Void-Shattering Finger art in the future. Murong Qingsheng reminded him. Yichen said, I will. This battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxiue is a great opportunity for me. Perhaps my Void-Shattering Finger art will also make a breakthrough to the profound level. Without even thinking about it, Xia Hozuan's achievement in the Void-Shattering Finger art would definitely be higher than Yichen's, since he was at least 10 years older than Yichen. Otherwise, he would not have been able to become one of the top 5 young warriors. Xia Hozuan would definitely use his Void-Shattering Finger art during his battle with Bai Wuxiue. By then, Yichen would be able to observe his Void-Shattering Finger art and learn the profound of space. Haha, it is less than a month and a half until the 18th of September. With my speed, I should be able to reach the 9-Dragon Mountain just in time. After drinking, I will leave immediately. You are right. It would be such a pity if I did not go and take a look at such a grand occasion. Plus, the top 5 young warriors have invited each other to battle, so all of the top young warriors in the world would definitely come to watch. Not just the top young warriors, even the master-level warriors from the older generation would come. They would also like to see how powerful the top 5 young warriors are. The news about the battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxiue was just too shocking. The atmosphere in the restaurant was extremely heated, and it had not calmed down yet. Let's go. Putting down a piece of gold, Yichen and Murong Qingsheng walked out of the restaurant. Among the people who were drinking, someone accidentally glanced at Yichen from the side. He poked the person next to him and said, Why do I feel like it looks a bit like Yichen who had beaten Lin Tian? Yichen? Let me see. The person next to him looked over and frowned. Then, he looked at Murong Qingsheng, who was right next to Yichen. It is Yichen. After what happened in the Westling city, there was a lady in a purple dress with a light veil on her face right next to Yichen. Yichen. Everyone's attention had been attracted, but unfortunately, Yichen and Murong Qingsheng had already walked out of the restaurant. There was a rumor in the Sky Martial region that Yi Chun was the top young warrior, just below the top 5 young warriors. This news had already reached the Xianming city. Chapter 607. Back at the mansion, the two didn't go to the Nine-Dragon Mountain right away. Although the Nine-Dragon Mountain was far away, the two both had flying puppets, which could fly day and night. In less than half a month, they would be able to get to the Nine-Dragon Mountain. Plus, it was not pointless for them to stay here. They were waiting for the news from the pavilion. The pavilion had 10 branches in total, and they were all located in the top 10 cities in the world. There were also some branches in smaller cities, but they were only used to collect information and they did not accept inquiries. Arriving at the Xianming city, Yichen spent a large amount of top-ranked soul stones to ask the pavilion to help him gather information about the last 3 materials. He promised that he would have a reply in a month, and it had already been half a month. The night came, and the entire Xianming city was in darkness. Formation. In the cold wind, groups of people in black suddenly appeared from all directions, heading towards a mansion that Yi Chun was in. There were 49 of them in total, but they did not enter the mansion. Instead, they waited outside, and each of them formed a hand seal. The hand seals were exactly the same, and the speed at which they formed the hand seals was exactly the same. It was not hard to imagine that they had practiced this technique hundreds and thousands of times, without a single mistake. As they formed the hand seals, circles of black shadows spread out with them as the center. There was a slight difference between the black shadows and the night sky, which was that it was completely black and would not reflect any light. 49 people and 49 black shadows combined together, eventually forming a massive black light shield that covered the entire mansion. From the outside, it looked like the mansion had disappeared into thin air. Inside the mansion, sneak attack. Yichen walked out of the house and stepped on the snowy ground, and Murong Qingchang followed him. The two raised their heads. The sky was pitch black, and there were no stars at all. Looking out of the mansion, the buildings outside the mansion seemed to have disappeared as well, and there was only darkness. Swoosh! Yi Chun pointed his finger at the darkness. An array of sword chi shot out like a beam of light. Without a sound, the sword chi disappeared into the darkness. Such a powerful formation. It has formed a ward. Yi Chen's eyes focused as he said, "Ward?" Murong Qingchang had heard of this term before, but she didn't know much about it. A barrier can be said to be a kind of domain. This kind of domain separates us from the outside world. Inside the barrier, no matter what happens, it will be difficult for the outside world to know unless the barrier is broken. Of course, this is only the most basic ability of a barrier. Murong Qingchang said, "Such a meticulous plan, it should be a powerful assassination force. I wonder which assassination force it is." This enchantment contains the profound of shadow. If I have guessed it right, the people who created this array are assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. The Ghost Shadow Pavilion is the #1 assassin in the whole continent, and the leader of the pavilion, the Sha Ancestor, is the #1 assassin in the whole world. He also has 4 assassin kings under his command. But the Sha Ancestor and the assassin kings have nothing to do with us, since they would not need to use life and death realm warriors to assassinate us. Otherwise, the whole continent would be in chaos already. Facing a crisis that he had never encountered before, Yi Chun did not panic too much. Panicking would only give the assassin an opportunity, which would not help the situation. Outside the dark shadow barrier, a group of men in black that had appeared near the town walked out. Being able to force us to use the 7 extreme ghost shadow spell. This Yi Chun should be proud of himself even if he dies. In the past 10 years, this is the 3rd time we have used it. The leading man in black said, "For normal master level C of Souls Realm warriors, 2 or 3 of us would be enough. But for a famous master level C of Souls Realm warrior, we would need a set of careful plans." But, according to the information we have gathered, this Yi Chen's survival ability is extremely horrifying. Therefore, I had no choice but to ask for permission to use the 7 extreme ghost shadow spell, and they had agreed to send out 49 support killers to help us. The Ghost Shadow Pavilion had its own rules. They would only have 1 chance to assassinate someone, and if they failed, they would not be able to do it again. Of course, it was not because the Ghost Shadow Pavilion was kind-hearted, but because of the pressure from all sides. Since there were more powerful parties than just the Ghost Shadow Pavilion in the whole continent, if they made the public angry, then they would not be able to stay in the whole continent anymore. Even so, there were still people who came to cause trouble for the Ghost Shadow Pavilion, trying to take them out. There's only one chance. I do not want any failures under my leadership. Don't worry, second leader. With the help of the 7 extreme Ghost Shadow spell, this assassination will not fail at all. I don't even think we will need to use it. Do not be too careless. I have a feeling that this assassination will be the most difficult one. The leading man in black, who was called the second leader, was not saying it out of nowhere. After being an assassin for a long time, one would have a feeling in their heart. If the other targets were prey in his eyes, then Yi Chun would be the hunter. No matter how powerful the prey was, it would still be captured, and the hunter would most likely turn the tables and try to assassinate them. All right, let's move. Open a door. The leading man in black looked cold as he ordered one of the killers who had set up the ward. Yes. The killer who had set up the ward changed his hand seal, and a door appeared on the pitch-black light cover. It was still pitch black inside the door. Shoo! The group of people walked in, and the door was closed. In a manner, black shadows were everywhere, like a group of demons dancing. These black shadows could appear anywhere. In the trees, in the snow, in the air, in the buildings, in the flowers, and even in the lake, there were black shadows coming out. If one thought that the black shadows had no killing power, then it would be a big mistake. These black shadows should be controlled by the killers who had set up the ward, and they had extraordinary killing power. The black shadows could also materialize and assassinate 2 people. Swoosh! Slashing a black shadow with his sword, Yi Chun realized that this black shadow seemed to have an immortal body, and it would quickly regenerate. Curtain of Darkness. Murong Qingsheng used the Dark Profound, and a black light cover appeared, protecting Yi Chun and herself. Bang! The Dark Profound was very magical, and could stop the black shadows from invading. But it was useless. Although the black shadows outside couldn't come in, the Curtain of Darkness was inside the ward, so the space inside the Curtain of Darkness would produce new black shadows to assassinate them. Dispersing the Curtain of Darkness, Murong Qingsheng frowned. Although these black shadows can't do anything to us, being trapped inside is not a good thing. Yi Chun said indifferently, "Wait, the trump card will come soon." Although the ward was powerful, it was just a supporting function. The real assassin would be the killer, and that would be the most thrilling battle. He die. Among the black shadows, there were some slightly different black shadows. These black shadows weren't exposed to Yi Chun and Murong Qingsheng's sight, but they were hiding behind other black shadows. At this moment, several black shadows shot over. After being cut, one of them materialized, and a purple dagger appeared in his hand. The tip of the dagger was purple, and it was obviously poisonous. Swoosh! The dagger stabbed into the back of Yi Chun's heart. Success! Watch out! The killer didn't have time to be happy, as he saw that he had stabbed a black shadow. The black shadow disappeared, and a cold voice came from behind him. Shadow Profound, I know it too. Crack! The killer's head was twisted by a hand, and his face was full of shock, as if he was asking who the killer was. Bastard, this guy knows Shadow Profound too. The other killers who had snuck in gritted their teeth. At the same time, they couldn't help but shiver. A prey that knew Shadow Profound was many times more dangerous than a prey at the same level. Shoo! After killing one killer, Yi Chun's body twisted, turning into a black shadow and rushing into the area where the black shadows gathered. Good chance. I will go catch that girl now and make him hesitate. Another killer's face flashed with joy. Without making a sound, he started to approach Murong Qingsheng. Murong Qingsheng's pupils suddenly opened. There was another pupil inside, and it was a black vertical eye. Glancing around, she saw a faint human shadow flying over. Flying Sky Assassination Cut. Murong Qingsheng threw out a palm attack. Boom! That killer was blown away, puking out blood from his mouth. Hee hee! You're indeed worthy of the perfect demi-demon bloodline. You can see through the shadow profound. Unfortunately, your vision is too narrow. A faint human shadow appeared behind Murong Qingsheng again, pointing at the acupuncture point on the back of her neck. Are you talking about yourself? Yi Chen had appeared behind him out of nowhere. The three of them were in a straight line. Behind Murong Qingsheng was the killer, and behind the killer was Yi Chen. What? Impossible. When did he get here? The killer's face was full of fear. Reaching out his right hand, Yi Chen grabbed the killer's head. With a twist of his wrist, the killer's head was turned around, facing Yi Chen. Be careful. Yi Chen naturally knew about Murong Qingsheng's abilities. She was not an ordinary person. She had cultivated a demi-body, and she also had the perfect demi-demon bloodline. Anyway, she was clearly different from humans. Her assassination skills were much better than most people. Yeah, I know. Murong Qingsheng, on the other hand, was quite impressed by Yi Chen's unpredictability. Even she did not know how he got here, so she guessed that he must have used some kind of trick. The black shadows inside the barrier were endless. Murong Qingsheng's demon eyes could only see through 1 or 2 layers of black shadows. If there were more layers of black shadows, the demon eyes would be useless. After all, the shadow profound was not an ordinary one. It was a profound used for assassination. Soul destruction wave. Facing the incoming black shadows, Murong Qingsheng reached out her palm. A black light ball was condensed, and she clenched her fist. Buzz. The black light ball exploded, shooting out in a fan shape. An assassin could not bear the soul attack, and showed himself. With a flash, Murong Qingsheng chopped off the assassin's head. On the other side, Yi Chen killed another assassin. In total, 4 assassins had died in the hands of Yi Chen and Murong Qingsheng. However, in the following confrontation, Yi Chen and Murong Qingsheng both found that the assassins were getting more and more powerful. In other words, the ones who died earlier were the weaker ones. The ones who survived were all elite assassins who had experienced hundreds of battles. I finally tested your bottom line. Next, you two will not be able to escape from our palms. Yi Chen knew the shadow profound, and Murong Qingsheng had the demon eyes. This was the consensus of the remaining assassins. Soul eyes open. Right at this moment, a slit appeared between Yi Chen's brows, and a silver radiance leaked out. In a manner, all the assassins had nowhere to hide. Chapter 608. The killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion did not know how powerful Yi Chen's soul eye was. Although they felt a bit uneasy, they did not do anything. Plus, even if they knew about the power of the soul eye, there was no way out for them. The duration of the soul eye was very short, so Yi Chen had to finish the battle as soon as possible. Therefore, the second he opened it, he threw out a sword attack toward the 2 killers not far away. It was the gold pattern that he had just learned. Shoo! Shoo! A couple of messy gold sword chi spread out like a pattern, and the 2 killers were instantly cut into pieces. There was no blood coming out from the wounds, as it was all sealed inside their bodies. This was the horrifying part of the gold pattern. The power only traveled in one line, and the power that leaked out was very little. Die! Yi Chen's sharp counterattack had made the killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion panic a bit. One of them, who had been hiding very well and was getting closer to Yi Chen, could not hold it in anymore. His body appeared from the crowd of black shadows. He had 2 ghost claws on his hands, which were shining with a dim light. Within a second, dozens of claw shadows had been shot out. Reverse sky, thundercut. Yi Chen did not panic at all as he reached his left hand into his waist, holding his gold sword in a reverse grip. He threw out a sword attack, the dark blue sword light shining brightly. Swoosh! The claw shadow split apart, and a red line appeared on the killer's face. Blood poured out from the red line, and in the next second, his whole body was cut in half. Is he a human or a ghost? The rest of the killers saw this scene and started to panic for the first time. Up until now, they had not even touched Yi Chen, but he had already killed 6 of them. They were all ghost killers who had killed Master Level C of Soul's Realm Warriors before. But now, they had all been killed by Yi Chen, and they had not even found a way to kill Yi Chen yet. Do not waste time with him. Capture that woman. Finally, These killers understood that it was impossible to kill Yi Chun now. Only by capturing Murong Qingsheng would they have a chance. Even if it did not work out, they could still use Murong Qingsheng to complete the mission, since the mission was divided into two parts. One was to kill Yi Chun, and the other was to take Murong Qingsheng away. Swish, swish, swish. All the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion pounced on Murong Qingsheng at the same time. As for the Black Shadows, controlled by the assassins who had set up the wizardry barriers, they surrounded Yi Chun and prevented him from helping. For a moment, Murong Qingsheng and Yi Chun were separated. Curtain of Darkness. Murong Qingsheng was not an existence that could be killed at will. The Curtain of Darkness could not stop the incorporeal shadows, but it could stop the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of explosions rang out continuously. The assassins of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion were blocked outside the Black Barrier. Shadow Stab. An extremely powerful assassin from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion had a ferocious look on his face. He pierced through the Black Barrier with one strike, and his body flashed as he dashed inside. Little bitch, when I catch you, I'll take good care of you. If you want to blame someone, blame your sweetheart. This assassin from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion was very afraid of Yi Chun, and this fear gave birth to ruthlessness. This time, even if he could not kill Yi Chun, he would make him suffer. How arrogant! Murong Qingsheng's pupils were vertical, which was the demon eye she had after cultivating the demon body. With the demon eye, she could see every move of her opponent. Boom! The two exchanged one move, and the assassin from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion had the upper hand. He changed his footwork, and the assassin turned into a wisp of black smoke, approaching Murong Qingsheng in a flash. His movement and flying skill were indeed unexpected. Even if Murong Qingsheng's speed was not any slower than his, it still gave the illusion that she could not block it. Swoosh! Two black shadows spread out behind Murong Qingsheng. They were not the shadows inside the wizardry barriers, nor were they the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. They were a pair of black bat wings that were 1 meter long. The black bat wings stretched out from Murong Qingsheng's shoulder blades, and a wave of horrifying demon power spread out crazily. What? After missing his attack, the assassin realized that Murong Qingsheng had disappeared, and what was left was only a shadow. What was even more frightening was that because Murong Qingsheng's speed was too fast, her aura was still lingering on the shadow. No matter how good his eyes were, no matter how sharp his senses were, he would not be able to tell the real one from the fake one. Flying assassination cut. With the black bat wings on her back, Murong Qingsheng performed her profound sense martial art perfectly. It was obvious that she was not as powerful as her opponent, but she was still able to beat him. Looking from afar, this assassin was surrounded by Murong Qingsheng's shadows, which kept attacking the assassin in the middle. They were as fast as black shooting stars, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Being surrounded by so many black shadows, Yi Chun was not too worried, since he already knew about Murong Qingsheng's hidden power. For example, the demon eyes and the black bat wings. The demon eyes were formed naturally after training the demonic body, since the eyes were also part of the demonic body. Meanwhile, the black bat wings were Murong Qingsheng's special power. If Yuanye's special power was the strengthening of defense, then Murong Qingsheng's special power would be the strengthening of speed, and this pair of black bat wings would be the key to that. Ting! Dang! Dang! From being at a disadvantage to having the upper hand, Murong Qingsheng's attacking power had increased drastically. Of course, it would still be impossible for her to kill her opponent within a short period of time. Let's go together. The rest of the killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion jumped up after the black wall disappeared. They turned into countless black shadows, trying to kill Murong Qingsheng. Murong Qingsheng had fallen into a disadvantage again, and her route of movement was constantly blocked by the killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. Break! 100 steps away, Yi Chun crossed his two swords in front of him, breaking through the black shadow's blockade. Amaranthan nature. A sword light flashed once outside of his body as Yi Chun caught a killer from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion and threw out a sword attack. Swoosh! There were not many people who could dodge the Amaranthan nature, and it obviously did not include the one who had been hit by the sword. The soul, eyes about to close. Feeling the pain in between his eyebrows, Yichen seized the last chance and threw out a couple of sword attacks. Dozens of messy gold sword chi spread out, killing a lot of the killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. Only one killer from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion was still fighting against Murong Qingchen. Pap! The soul I had finally closed. However, Yichen did not really need it anymore. Run! That killer from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion ran towards the edge of the barrier. Where do you think you are going? Yichen followed closely behind him. Let's die together. Realizing that he could not escape, that killer suddenly turned around. Intense black light shone out his eyes, nose, mouth, and mouth. He was going to explode himself. Unfortunately, Yichen's sword was so fast that it pierced through his eyebrows. After killing the last killer from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion, Yichen slightly relaxed his nerves. During this short period of time, he seemed to be very relaxed, but he was actually extremely tense. He did not dare to make a single mistake, because he knew that he was facing the best killer in the whole continent. Abruptly, a figure jumped out from the shadow of the rockery on the right side of Yichen. He was the leader of this group of killers, and was called the Deputy Leader. You will not escape death after all. The Deputy Leader's face was full of joy. He did not expect that he would lose so many warriors to kill Yichen. Almost all of them had been killed, but it was all over now. At least he had survived and completed the mission. He did not care too much about the loss of his warriors. As an assassin, he would die sooner or later. Oh yeah, Yichen did not have enough time to dodge, and he could not even block out the attack. However, he still had enough time to activate his dragon power. The dragon power combined with his physical body covered his entire body. All of a sudden, a layer of white bone appeared on his skin. A light pressure spread out, and even the air seemed to have frozen. Boom! The second leader of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion had pierced through Yichen's protective Zhenyuan layer and landed on his chest. Even with the gold armor, Yichen would still be wounded badly. Once he was wounded badly, he would not be able to compete with the second leader of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. However, with the protection of the Dragon Bone layer, he had only backed out for dozens of steps, and there was not a single wound on his body. 3 layers of defense. One was the protective Zhenyuan, the second was the gold armor, and the last was the Dragon Bone defense. If Yichen was wounded, that would be really strange. After all, assassins were not that powerful in terms of attacking power. What they studied was assassination. Impossible. The deputy leader was shocked. It was not that he had never seen prey with powerful defense before, but he had never seen one like Yichen. If all the targets had this kind of defense, then there would be no need for the Ghost Shadow Pavilion to exist anymore. After all, if he could not even break through their defense, then how could he assassinate them? Unless the target did not have any defense and came to him on his own. Gold pattern. With the Dragon Bone defense, Yichen did not feel much of the vibration. Plus, because of the dragon power, his body was extremely powerful. His chi and blood only shook a little before returning to normal. Activating his Zhenyuan, Yichen held his breath and waved out a sword attack. Dang! 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 The deputy leader was very powerful, only slightly weaker than Yichen, and almost at the same level as Lin Tianmu and Yunhe. Soul Extinguishing Wave. Murong Qingcheng appeared from the side with an extremely fast speed. She threw out her ace attack right from the start. The unique soul attack landed on the deputy leader's soul C. Not good. Even though Murong Qingcheng's comprehension of the soul extinguishing wave had not reached completion yet, it was still enough to make the deputy leader's face turn pale, and he felt dizzy. Die! This time, Yichen took care of the deputy leader smoothly. The scattered golden sword chi sliced him into pieces, sending his limbs flying everywhere. Mission failed. Back out. Seeing the deputy leader die, the 49 assassins who had set up the ward all stopped their attacks, dispelling the ward. They then ran in different directions, disappearing into the night. They sure ran away fast. Yichen did not plan to chase after them, since he knew about the rules of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. There was only one chance to assassinate a target. Once the mission failed, there would be no more assassinations. Of course, there were some exceptions. The black bat wings on her back flapped as Murong Qingcheng put them away and sighed. If they had not run into us, they would have more than 90% chance of succeeding. There are always people who are not afraid of assassination, and we are one of them. Time flew by, and half a month had passed. Right then, news came from the pavilion as well. Out of the 3 materials, only one of them was in the hands of a rank 6 martial institution, which happened to be on the way to the 9-Dragon Mountain. Therefore, Yi Chun and Murong Qingchang left for the 9-Dragon Mountain immediately. Chapter 609. The Flowing Spring Valley was one of the many rank 6 martial institutions in the Sky Martial region. The leader of the valley, Hua Yingmei, was a rare female leader. Her power was not weak at all, and she was also a Master Level C of Soul's Realm Warrior. As a veteran rank 6 martial institution in the Sky Martial region, there was no reason for her not to know about Yi Chun. Therefore, she seemed to be very friendly toward Yi Chun and Murong Qingcheng's visit. Yi Chun exchanged a few words with them before telling them the reason for their visit. Hearing him, Hua Yingmei frowned and forced a smile. If you two had come a few months earlier, I would have given the fruit to you for sure. Unfortunately, you came at a bad time. The only fruit in our martial institution has already been made into a pellet with other ingredients. Yi Chun said, I heard that there is a phoenix plume tree in the Flowing Spring Valley. Could it be that this tree only has one fruit? Hua Yingmei knew that the other party suspected that she was evading, so she explained, a phoenix plume tree that is thousands of years old will naturally have more than one phoenix plume fruit, but the phoenix plume tree of our sect is only 900 years old. It blooms every 3 years and bears fruit every 3 years. If you two don't believe me, I can take you to see the phoenix plume tree. I believe that with your eyesight, you should be able to see the phoenix plume tree. That will not be necessary. Yi Chun also knew that the maturity of the phoenix plume tree had something to do with the number of fruits. Since she had already said it, it would be disrespectful of him if he still doubted her. Warrior Yi is in urgent need of the fruit? Hua Yingmei asked. Yi Chun nodded. I needed to make an antidote for saving people. Hua Yingmei said, Young hero Yi, perhaps you can go to the northern sector's desolate fire region to take a look. Our sect's phoenix plume tree was transplanted from the desolate fire region. Although I don't know if there's a second phoenix plume tree there, it's better than no hope. Desolate fire region? That was the barbarian race's territory. 2/3 of the entire northern regions were the barbarian race's territory, while the remaining 1/3 was occupied by other races. Where exactly is the desolate fire region? A region was just too huge. Even a life and death realm warrior would not be able to explore the entire region without leaving a single gap in his or her entire life. This phoenix plume tree was found in the western part of the barbaric mountains. I have a map here that I can give to young hero Yi. Hua Yingmei took out an aged map from her storage ring and handed it over to Yi Chun. This map did not have much value to her anyway, so she might as well do him a favor. Yi Chun took the map and opened it. The map only outlined the terrain of the barbaric mountains. Everything else was drawn with lines. Putting away the map, Yi Chun said emotionally, Everyone says that Leader Hua is a kind person. Now that I have seen him, it is indeed true. I can see that you are at peak level late C of Soul's Realm, and you should be accumulating your Zhen Yuan to prepare for breaking through to the life and death realm. How about this? I have a couple of plants here as a thank you gift. Hua Yingmei wanted to reject it, but she said, breaking through to the life and death realm is not that easy. I can only try my best. As for the thank you gift, forget it. I did not help you that much anyway. Yi Chun chuckled. Valley Leader Hua, don't be in such a hurry to reject me. The herbs that I want to give you are the necessary materials for making extreme rank heaven spirit pellets. If you can find the other leftovers, you can make a batch of extreme rank heaven spirit pellets, which would save you at least 10 years of hard work. As he spoke, Yi Chun took out a couple of plants with powerful spirit chi. The necessary materials for making extreme rank heaven spirit pellets. Hua Yingmei was shocked. Breaking through to the life and death realm would require way too much Zhen Yuan. Although her cultivation was still far from the life and death realm, and she might not be able to reach it in this lifetime, who would have the confidence to make it. If she did not prepare well, there would be no hope at all. If she really had a furnace of extreme, rank heaven spirit pellets, it would indeed save her at least 10 years of hard work. Plus, even if she could not reach the life and death realm in the future, she would still have a chance to reach half-step King Warrior. This, Huang Mei blushed a bit. Before, she had rejected it, but now she was hesitating again. Here, Leader Hua. Yi Chun handed the plants to him. Although these plants were precious, he had quite a lot of them, and they were all from the Treasure River Island and the Savage Ancient Place. Most of them were from the Treasure River Island. Unfortunately, it was already hidden, otherwise, he would like to go there again. Valley Master Hua took the herbs and said seriously, I only helped young Hero Yi with a small matter, but young Hero Yi gave me a big gift. If there's anything you need help with in the future, just tell me. My Flowing Spring Valley has some connections. Then I will leave now. Yi Chun and Murong Qingcheng stood up and said goodbye. Leaving the palace, the two walked toward the entrance of the valley. This leader is quite easy to talk to. Murong Qingcheng laughed. Yi Chun nodded. As the leader of a martial school, Leader Hua's attitude is indeed admirable. He might even have a chance to reach the life and death realm. As they spoke, the two arrived at the entrance of the valley, got on the flying puppet, and flew toward the Nine-Dragon Mountain. The Nine-Dragon Mountain was one of the most famous mountains in the Sky Martial region. It was huge, no smaller than a mid-sized mountain range. It looked like it was surrounded by 9 dragons. Along the way, Yi Chun and Murong Qingcheng could see Sea of Souls realm warriors flying toward the Nine-Dragon Mountain. Some of them were alone, while some were in groups, which were obviously the disciples of the big martial institutions. Some of them were riding on vicious flying beasts, looking quite extraordinary. All in all, the Nine-Dragon Mountain had become the most popular place. Haha, Brother Yi, what a coincidence! On the right, Hai Wuya and his junior brothers and sisters were approaching on a water-type, flying demonic beast. Yi Chun chuckled. Oh, it is Brother Hai. The two of them exchanged a few words before introducing each other to the people beside them. Brother Yi, it has been a couple of months since I last saw you. Your name has become quite famous in the Sky Martial region. Everyone says that you are the #1 warrior, just below the top 5 young warriors. To be honest, when Hai Wuya first heard the news, he was indeed shocked. All of them had the Dragon Blood plant, and they had all trained some of it. But the improvement was not that huge. At most, it would be a small increase. On the other hand, Yi Chun had already surpassed most of the famous young warriors. Yi Chun forced a smile. Times have changed. I guess a lot of people do not like me anymore. You are right. Besides the top 5 young warriors, no one would dare to call themselves the #1 warrior. Therefore, a lot of people do not like you. I guess there will be a lot of people who will challenge you. It is inevitable. Let's see who is more powerful with our moves. Yi Chun did not care much about it. There would be a price to pay for being famous. If one did not want to pay the price, then it would be best not to be famous at all. As long as you are confident. Hai Wuya changed the topic. Speaking of which, this battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue has caused quite a big commotion. All of the young warriors want to see the gap between them and the top 5 young warriors. Those older generation master-level warriors also want to know how powerful the top 5 young warriors are, and if they have the power to threaten them. Anyway, this battle might be a meeting of master-level warriors, and there will be a lot of people there. I guess half of all the master-level warriors in the whole True Spirit continent will be there. Yi Chun said the battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue would also be beneficial to the people watching. I think that is the main reason. Yeah, indeed. Yes, that is indeed the case. Cultivation base, will, and profound sense are all part of one's basic strength. Everyone has them, but when 2 people with similar basic strength meet each other, there might be a huge gap. For example, the profound sense contained in the low-grade profound sense martial arts are all about the same, so no one will be able to surpass the other by much. However, why would there be a difference in the power? That is because of the difference in martial art styles and usage. Moreover, the profound sense martial arts created by oneself and the profound sense of others are the same, But the profound sense martial arts created by oneself are more suitable for oneself and can display the extreme power. There are too many of them, and it is impossible to judge a person's strength from the basic strength. You still have to look at the battle power. 3 days later, Yi Chun and the group of people arrived at the Nine-Dragon Mountain. Hai Wuya said, Xiaozuan and Bai Wushue's battle location is right in the middle of the Nine-Dragon Mountain, the Nine-Dragon Lake. Let's go. When Yi Chun and the group arrived at the Nine-Dragon Lake, it was already surrounded by people. Some of them seemed to be enjoying themselves, building pavilions and even wooden houses near the lake. Following what Yi Chun and the others had done, more people were building places to watch the battle. This is indeed a grand occasion. Looking around, Yi Chun could see at least hundreds of master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors and thousands of Sea of Souls Realm warriors. None of them were weak, and their auras were powerful. Yi Chun is here. Hai Wuya is here as well. Some of the people had recognized Yi Chun and Hai Wuya, who was quite famous. There is a small mountain over there. The Nine-Dragon Lake was huge, and there were not that many people here yet. So, there was still a lot of empty space around. Yi Chun controlled his flying puppet to carry him and Murong Qingshang over there. Hai Wuya naturally followed as well, since a small mountain was more than enough for more people to watch the battle. One of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Shun Qianlang, is here. Although Shun Qianlang had lost to Xiao Chua, one of the top 5 young warriors, no one doubted his power. So, the necessary respect was still necessary. Look, one of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Lin Chaonan, the leader of the Wavy Snow Palace, the Snow Sword Master, and the number 1 master-level Thunder Master of the Thunder region. Those who could be recognized by the crowd were all famous Sea of Souls Realm master-level warriors. As for those famous Sea of Souls Realm master-level warriors in certain regions, not many people knew them, since this was the Sky Martial region, the center of the continent. Without enough power and fame, no one would be able to recognize you. There were still 2 days before the battle. Within these 2 days, people started to arrive one after another. There were already more than 500 master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors. It sounded like a lot, but one should not forget that there were trillions of people in the continent. It would be normal for there to be 500 master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors, and it would be normal even if there were thousands of them. After all, there would be 10 life and death realm warriors every 100 years. After 1,000 years, there would be more than 100 life and death realm warriors, not to mention master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors. The reason why the human race was so powerful was because of their huge numbers. Without enough power, no matter how powerful an individual was, it would be useless. The ancient demons had lost in terms of numbers. One day before the battle, the Nine-Dragon Lake was heated up again. Xiao Chuha is here. Swordmaster, Deguju, Yin Fengfeng, and the leader of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Siep Baiting. In other words, Siep Baiting's status was the highest among all of them. It was because he was the leader of the top 3 master-level blade artists, and he had never been defeated before. Even the top 5 young warriors might not be able to threaten him. Chapter 610. I'm afraid this battle will be the most influential one in the past 20 years. Yin Fengfeng and Yi Chun and Hai Wuya were from the same sect, so they naturally brought the disciples of the mysterious martial school to this small hill. Hai Wuya nodded. 5 years ago, the battle between Lu Xiaoyu and Xiao Chuha was not this popular. But it is also because of that battle that it has brought about such a big scene today. Lu Xiaoyu was the leader of the top 3 young warriors and also one of the top 5 young warriors. Although there were a lot of people watching the battle between him and Xiao Chuha, it was not as big as today. But after Xiao Chuha had lost to Lu Xiaoyu, he had trained hard for 3 years, and his power had already reached an immeasurable level. He had even beaten Shun Qianlang, one of the top 3 blade artists, which had made the older generation of master-level warriors realize that the top 5 young warriors were not as simple as they thought. If they did not pay attention to them, then they might be beaten by the top 5 young warriors one by one. Therefore, the battle between Xiaozuan and Bai Wuxue had caused such a big commotion. Looking at the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors that could be seen everywhere, Yi Chun could not help but shake his head. Among the older generation, not to mention master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors, even spirit realm warriors would be hard to find. In fact, even normal Sea of Souls realm warriors would be extremely rare in the South River region. The top 6 martial institutions would each have 7 to 8 Sea of Souls realm warriors, which would be around 50 in total. The Murong family had a bit more Sea of Souls realm warriors, around 30 of them. Adding some of the Sea of Souls realm warriors who did not belong to any martial institutions, there would be at least 100 or 200 of them. Of course, there were also some Sea of Souls realm warriors who were out all the time and did not return to the South River region. Murong Qingsheng was obviously thinking the same thing as Yichen. She frowned slightly, a helpless look in her eyes. South River region, Yin Shihua and Li Daoxian have both reached the Sea of Souls realm. Murong Qingsheng said, I think it's about time for me to advance. Yin Shihua and Li Daoxian were the top martial geniuses of the whole South River region after all. Plus, they were not that young anymore, being almost 30 years old. Of course, one could not forget about one person, which was Si Kongsheng. Thinking about it, Si Kongsheng had a high chance of reaching the Sea of Souls realm. In the afternoon, the number of people who had arrived at the Nine-Dragon Lake had reached a new high. Tens of thousands of people. Most of them were Sea of Souls realm warriors, and master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors had reached an unprecedented 600. Perhaps this number would not be broken for a long time, because almost all of the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors had arrived. Look, it's Dantai Mingwe. In the sky, a graceful woman in a red dress flew over on a big bird with 5 colored feathers. Like Murong Qingsheng, the woman's face was covered with a veil. However, this veil was not black but red. Dantai Mingwe came alone and landed on a huge tree. On top of the cliff, Dugu Ju, who had been meditating with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and looked at Dantai Mingwe. The battling intent in his eyes was not hidden at all. The top 3 martial geniuses are all here. It seems like they have the same cultivation, all at peak level mid-Sea of Souls realm. Judging from the results so far, Yi Chun is slightly more powerful. Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingwe have not done anything in the past 2 years. It is true that Dantai Mingwe has not done anything yet. Dugu Ju had beaten Tai Shichong, one of the top 3 young sword masters, a couple of months ago. He has already made it into the top of the young warriors. I wonder if the top 3 martial geniuses will compete with each other? I don't think so. It is not the right time yet, and it would be pointless. Just like the top 5 young warriors, once they make a move, the whole world will be shocked. With the gathering of the top 3 martial geniuses, the atmosphere in the Nine-Dragon Lake was heated up again. Perhaps with the top 5 young warriors in power, the top 3 martial geniuses would not be able to compete with them yet. But as time went on, most of the people thought that the top 3 martial geniuses would definitely challenge the top 5 young warriors and replace their positions. But the condition was that they would have to improve fast enough. Shoo! A beam of sword light shot over from afar, its sharp sword chi shooting into the sky. Before the person had even arrived, the wind and clouds had already started to change, as if it was not a human, but a great sword. It was indeed Tai Shichong. It seems like he has successfully reached the late Sea of Souls realm. His power has improved quite a bit. Yi Chun could tell with one glance that Tai Shichong was at the late Sea of Souls realm right now. His Zhen Yuan was as rich as the ocean, and his qi was extremely powerful. Of course, the improvement in his cultivation was still not that big of a deal. What was worth mentioning was that every time a Sea of Souls realm warrior made a breakthrough, there would be a temporary state of being one with the world. According to the warrior's comprehensive ability, they would be able to gain different levels of comprehension. It was because of this state that Yi Chun had managed to train his gold resonant radiant sword art to 130%. After that, he created his gold pattern, which was also influenced by the state, since creating a mid-rank profound sense martial art would require a certain level of comprehension. Dugu, do you dare challenge me? Once he appeared, Tai Shichong stared at Dugu, who was training with his eyes closed, and yelled, "What? Tai Shichong wants to challenge Duguju?" What's so strange about that? Tai Shichong's power had increased a lot, so of course he would want to win back his pride and beat Duguju. I wonder if Duguju would accept the challenge. Everyone's gazes landed on Duguju. Duguju opened his eyes again and looked at Tai Shichong coldly. "It seems like you're quite confident that you can beat me. Cut the crap. Do you dare to challenge me?" Tai Shichong's eyes were sharp. Standing up slowly, Duguju said, "Why not? All right, you and I will battle in the lake." Tai Shichong flew toward the center of the lake. Shoo! With a slight movement of his body, Duguju shot out like a peerless blade. I did not expect the two to battle again. Hai Wuya stared at the center of the lake. "Duguju, take this." Stepping on the surface of the lake, Tai Shichong and Duguju started to battle. All of a sudden, the blade light and the sword shadows were everywhere, and the lake water was separated by the two from time to time. This battle lasted for a whole 300 attacks. Within those 300 attacks, the two had performed their most powerful attacks one after another. It was not hard to tell that Duguju did not have the advantage like the first time, and Tai Shichong, who had improved a lot, was not able to suppress Duguju like he had expected. Despair Blade. Finally, Duguju was forced to use his ace attack. Within that white rainbow-like blade light, all living beings' shadows appeared on it, and the despair chi spread out in the air. "Duguju, if this is all you have, then this time you will lose for sure." Tai Shichong's body jumped into the air, stabbing out toward that white rainbow-like blade light. That sword attack gave people the illusion that it was unstoppable, as if it was a sword attack coming down from the sky. A more complete heaven and earth sword. Yi Chen's pupil shrank. Back then, Tai Shichong's usual attack was the heaven and earth sword finger art. Heaven and earth represented the earth, which was the profound of the earth, carrying all living beings. The sky was replaced by the profound of water. However, back then, Tai Shichong's heaven and earth sword was just a rough combination of the profound of the earth and the profound of water. But right now, the two had a deeper connection, and that sword attack was like the judgment of the sky sword. Right now, Tai Shichong's power was no weaker than Lin Tian's. Pooh! Duguju could not handle that sword attack, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. Duguju lost? Everyone gasped. Dan Tai Mingwa looked very calm, not moving at all. "Duguju, you have lost." After successfully beating Duguju, a curve appeared on Tai Shichong's face. Wiping away the blood from his mouth, Duguju lifted up his head and said, "Really? I do not think that I will beat you with only one blade attack." Arrogant. Hearing him, Tai Shichong frowned. He thought that Duguju was just being stubborn. "Whether I am arrogant or not, you'll find out soon. Take my real despairing blade attack." As he spoke, Duguju's aura changed drastically. His whole body sank into a despairing aura, and from that despairing aura came a horrifying power. It was extremely evil, turning Duguju into an evil spirit, an evil demon wrapped in despair. Ha! The sound of the long blade slicing through the air was heard. It was an extremely horrifying sound. It was actually a twisted laughter. Once the person heard the laughter, his face turned pale, and his body started to twitch uncontrollably. It seemed like he had encountered something that made him feel hopeless. One of the top 5 young warriors, Xiao Chuha, who had been watching calmly, frowned. There were not many things that could make him frown. Sword Master Lu Xiaoyu also looked like he was thinking about something. Swoosh! Facing this blade attack, Tai Shichong could not react at all and was blown away, falling into a coma. Soon, a couple of people who were close to Tai Shichong helped him to the corner and stared at Duguju with a pale face. They could not imagine how Duguju could become this horrifying all of a sudden. Dong! What happened next shocked everyone even more. They saw Duguju slap his palm on his forehead, making a loud sound. Then, his whole body seemed to have returned to normal, but his face was even paler. It seemed like he had used up a lot of mental energy. Strange. His whole body has sunk into the despairing aura, as if he is using the despairing aura to increase his power. Yichen studied Duguju, who was still meditating with his eyes closed. I did not expect Duguju to be this horrifying. It seems like we have underestimated him. Yeah, even if Tai Shichong is not as powerful as Lin Tian, he is not that far off. But he still could not take one blade attack from Duguju. But Duguju does not look that good either. He must have used a power that he could not control. Everyone was a bit surprised by this result. This Duguju is so powerful. I would like to see for myself. But he's not in his best condition right now. I am afraid that he will not be able to take one attack from me. Inside a pavilion next to the lake, an evil-looking young man with a face as white as powder waved his fan and said lightly, "Lan Xieching, you had the upper hand in the battle with Lin Tian back then. Do you want to battle with him again?" Someone standing right next to him said. The young man who was called Lan Xieching shook his head. Before that, I might have been interested in battling with him. But, unfortunately, he had lost to a young brat. Challenging him is not what I want. Anyway, I will go challenge Yi Chun and see what kind of power he has to beat Lin Tian. As he spoke, the evil-looking young man stood up and looked at where Yi Chun was, yelling, "Yi Chun, do you dare to take 10 attacks from me?" It is the evil child Lan Xieching. He wants to challenge Yi Chun. Before one wave had subsided, another wave arose. Everyone's attention was drawn over. Lan Xieching. Duguju opened his eyes tiredly. 2 years ago, he had the upper hand in the battle with Lin Tian. Today, he is going to challenge Yi Chun, who had beaten Lin Tian before. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, everyone says that Yi Chun is very powerful, but I do not even know what is so powerful about him. Is it because Lin Tian has fallen, or is it because Yi Chun is really powerful? Perhaps we will find out now. Chapter 611. I'm afraid this battle will be the most influential one in the past 20 years. Yin Fengfeng and Yi Chun and Hai Wuya were from the same sect, so they naturally brought the disciples of the mysterious martial school to this small mountain. Hai Wuya nodded. 5 years ago, the battle between Sword Master Lu Xiaoyu and Xiao Chuhe was not this popular. But it is also because of that battle that we are able to have such a grand occasion today. Lu Xiaoyu was the leader of the top 3 young sword masters, and also one of the top 5 young warriors. Although there were a lot of people watching the battle between him and Xiao Chuhe, it was not as big as today. But after Xiao Chuhe had lost to Lu Xiaoyu, he had trained hard for 3 years, and his power had reached an unfathomable level. He had even beaten Shun Xianlang, one of the top 3-blade master-level warriors, which had made the older generation of master-level warriors realize that the top 5 young warriors were not as simple as they had thought. If they did not take it seriously, then they might be beaten by the top 5 young warriors one by one in the future. Therefore, the battle between Xiao Hozuan and Bai Wuxue had caused such a huge commotion. Looking at the Sea of Souls realm warriors that could be seen everywhere, Yi Chun could not help but shake his head. Among the older generation warriors, not to mention master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors, even spirit warriors were rare. In fact, even normal Sea of Souls realm warriors were extremely rare in the whole South River region. The top 6 rank 6 martial institutions would each have 7 to 8 Sea of Souls realm warriors, which would be around 50 in total. The Murong family had more Sea of Souls realm warriors, around 30 of them. Adding some of the Sea of Souls realm warriors who did not belong to any martial institutions, there would be around 1 to 200 of them. Of course, there might be some Sea of Souls realm warriors who stayed outside all the time and did not come back to the South River region. But overall, the overall power of the South River region was indeed extremely weak. Murong Qingsheng was obviously thinking the same thing as Yi Chun. She frowned slightly, a helpless look in her eyes. South River region, Yin Qihua and Li Daoxian have both reached the Sea of Souls realm. Murong Qingsheng said, I think it is about time for them to make it. Yin Qihua and Li Daoxian were the top martial geniuses of the South River region after all. Plus, they were not that young anymore, being close to 30 years old. Of course, one could not forget about one person, which was Sikong Sheng. Thinking about it, the possibility of Sikong Sheng reaching the Sea of Souls realm was quite high. In the afternoon, The number of people arriving at the Nine-Dragon Lake reached a new high. There were tens of thousands of people, most of whom were Sea of Souls Realm warriors. There were more than 600 master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors. Perhaps this number would not break through for a long time, because almost all of the master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors had arrived. Look, it is Dantai Mingwe. In the sky, a beautiful woman in a red dress flew over while riding on a huge bird with 5 colored feathers. She was just like Murong Qingsheng, with a light veil covering her face. However, it was not black, but red. Dantai Mingwe came alone and landed on a towering tree. On top of the cliff, Du Gujue, who had been meditating with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and looked at Dantai Mingwe. The battling intent in his eyes was not hidden at all. The top 3 martial geniuses are all here. It seems like their cultivation is the same, all at peak level mid-Sea of Souls realm. Judging from the results so far, Yi Chun is slightly more powerful. Du Gujue and Dantai Mingwe have not made any moves in the past 2 years. It is true that Dantai Mingwe has not made any moves, but Du Gujue had beaten Tai Shicheng, one of the top young warriors, a couple of months ago. He has already reached the top of the young warriors. I wonder if the top 3 martial geniuses will compete with each other? I don't think so. It is not the right time yet, and it would be pointless. Just like the top 5 young warriors, once they make their moves, the whole world will be shocked. The gathering of the top 3 martial geniuses had made the atmosphere in the Nine-Dragon Lake a lot more intense. Perhaps right now, with the top 5 young warriors in power, the top 3 martial geniuses would not be able to compete with them yet. But as time went on, most of the people thought that the top 3 martial geniuses would definitely challenge the top 5 young warriors and replace their positions. However, the condition was that they would have to improve fast enough. Shoo! A beam of sword light shot over from afar, its sword chi shooting into the sky. Before the person had even arrived, the wind and clouds had already started to change, as if it was not a human, but a great sword. It was indeed Tai Shicheng. It seems like he has successfully reached the late Sea of Souls realm. His power has improved quite a bit. Yi Chun could tell with a glance that Tai Shicheng was at the late Sea of Souls realm right now. His Zhen Yuan was as rich as the ocean, and his qi was extremely powerful. Of course, the improvement in his cultivation was not that big of a deal. What was worth mentioning was that every time a Sea of Souls realm warrior made a breakthrough, there would be a temporary state of being one with the world. It was because of this state that Yi Chun had managed to train his gold resonant radiant sword art to 130%. After that, he had created his gold pattern, which was also influenced by the state of being one with the world. After all, creating a mid-rank profound sense martial art would require a certain level of comprehension. Du Gujue, do you dare to battle? Once he appeared, Tai Shicheng stared at Du Gujue, who was sitting in meditation with his eyes closed, and yelled, "What? Tai Shicheng wants to challenge Du Gujue? What is so strange about that?" Tai Shicheng's power had increased a lot, so of course, he would want to win back his dignity and beat Du Gujue. I wonder if he would accept the challenge or not. Everyone's gaze landed on Du Gujue. Du Gujue opened his eyes again and looked at Tai Shicheng coldly. "It seems like you are quite confident that you can beat me. Cut the bullshit. Do you dare to battle?" Tai Shicheng's eyes were sharp. Slowly standing up, Du Gujue said, "Why not? All right, you and I will battle in the lake." Tai Shicheng flew toward the center of the lake. Shoo! His body flashed once, and Du Gujue shot out like a deadly blade. I did not expect the two to battle again. Hai Wuya stared at the center of the lake. Du Gujue, take this. Stepping on the lake water, Tai Shicheng and Du Gujue started a battle. All of a sudden, the blade light and the sword shadow spread out everywhere, and the lake water was split apart by the two. This battle lasted for a whole 300 attacks. Within those 300 attacks, the two had performed their most powerful attacks one after another. It was not hard to tell that Du Gujue did not have the upper hand like the first time, and Tai Shicheng, whose power had increased drastically, was not able to suppress Du Gujue like he had expected. Despair Blade. Finally, Du Gujue was forced to use his ace attack. Within that white rainbow-like blade light, the images of all living beings appeared on it, and the despair chi spread out everywhere. Du Gujue, if you only have this one attack, then you will lose for sure this time. Tai Shicheng's body jumped into the air as he stabbed out a sword attack toward that white rainbow-like blade light. That sword attack gave people the illusion that it was unstoppable, as if it was a sword attack coming down from the sky. A more complete, natural sword. Yi Chen's pupil shrank. That day, Tai Shicheng's usual attack was a natural sword finger art. Heaven and earth represented the earth, which was also the profound of earth, carrying everything. Sky was replaced by the profound of water. However, back then, Tai Shicheng's natural sword was just a rough combination of the profound of earth and water. But right now, the two seemed to have reached a deeper level. That sword attack seemed to be the judgment of the sky sword. Right now, Tai Shicheng's power was no weaker than Lin Tian's. Pooh! Du Gujue could not handle that sword attack, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. Du Gujue lost? Everyone gasped. Dantai Minghua looked calm, not moving at all. Du Gujue, you have lost. After successfully beating Du Gujue, a smile appeared on Tai Shicheng's face. Wiping the blood off his mouth, Du Gujue lifted up his eyes and said, "Oh yeah? I don't think I will beat you with one blade attack." Arrogant. Hearing him, Tai Shicheng frowned. He thought that Du Gujue was just being stubborn. Whether I am arrogant or not, you will know soon enough. Take my true, despairing blade attack. As he spoke, Du Gujue's aura changed drastically. His whole body sank into a despairing aura, and from that despairing aura, a horrifying power was born. This power was extremely evil, turning Du Gujue into an evil spirit wrapped in despair. Ha! The sound of the long blade slicing through the air was heard. It was an extremely horrifying sound. It was actually a twisted laughter. Once the person heard it, his face turned pale, and his body started to twitch uncontrollably. It seemed like he had encountered something that made him feel hopeless. One of the top 5 young warriors, Xiao Chuha, who had been watching the whole time, frowned. There were not many things that could make him frown. The sword master Lu Xiaoyu also seemed to be thinking about something. Swoosh! Facing this blade attack, Tai Shicheng could not react at all and was blown away, falling into a coma. Soon, a couple of people who were close to Tai Shicheng helped him to the corner and stared at Du Gujue with pale faces. They could not imagine how Du Gujue had become this horrifying all of a sudden. Dong! What happened next shocked everyone even more. They saw Du Gujue slap on his forehead, making a loud sound. Then, his whole body seemed to return to normal. However, his face was even paler, as if he had used up a lot of mental energy. Strange. His whole body has fallen into a despairing aura, as if he was trying to get more power out of it. Yi Chun studied Du Gujue, who was still meditating with his eyes closed. I did not expect Du Gujue to be this powerful. It seems like we have underestimated him. Yeah, even if Tai Shicheng's power is not as powerful as Lin Tian's, it should not be too far off. But he still could not take one blade attack from Du Gujue. But Du Gujue does not look that good either. He must have used some power that he could not control. Everyone was a bit surprised by this result. This Du Gujue is so powerful. I would like to see him for myself. But he is not in his best condition right now. I am afraid he would not be able to take one attack from me. In a pavilion next to the lake, an evil-looking young man with a face as white as powder waved his fan and said lightly, "Lan Xieching, you had the upper hand in the battle with Lin Tian back then. Why don't you spar with him again?" Someone beside him said. The young man called Lan Xieching shook his head. "Before that, I might have been interested in fighting with him once. Unfortunately, he lost, and to a brat who has just come out of nowhere. Challenging him is not what I want. Fine, I will go challenge Yi Chun. Let's see what he has to beat Lin Tian." As he spoke, the evil-looking young man stood up and looked in Yi Chun's direction, yelling, "Yi Chun, do you dare to take 10 attacks from me?" It is Lan Xieching. He wants to challenge Yi Chun. Before one wave had subsided, another wave arose. Everyone's attention was drawn over. Lan Xieching. Du Gujiu opened his eyes tiredly. 2 years ago, he had the upper hand in the battle with Lin Tian. Today, he wants to challenge Yi Chun, who had beaten Lin Tian. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, everyone says that Yi Chun is powerful, but I don't even know how powerful he is. Is it because Lin Tian has fallen, or is it because Yi Chun is really powerful? Perhaps we will find out now. Chapter 6:12. The sky soon darkened, and the stars shone brightly in the night sky. The Nine-Dragon Lake was not as busy as during the day, but it was not quiet either. 4 Sea of Souls realm warriors, not sleeping for a couple of days was as simple as eating and drinking. It would not affect their mental state at all. Of course, at night, no one would make a fuss and ruin the peaceful atmosphere. They were all chatting with people they could talk to. On top of a small hill, a well-designed wooden house stood there. There were a lot of cracks that could not be seen with naked eyes, seeming like it could be dismantled at any time. It was about the size of a normal family's living room, more than enough to hold dozens of people. Inside the house, Yi Chun and the rest were drinking tea and chatting. Brother Yi, this puppet house of yours is indeed a rare item. It should still be able to activate the protective layer, right? Hai Weiya studied the interior of the house and could not help but be amazed by the skills of the puppet school. Yin Fengfeng's flying ship, Yi Chen's flying puppet, and the puppet house were all the works of the school. It was not hard to imagine how prosperous the school must have been back in the day. Yi Chen chuckled, just a small toy. This puppet house was obtained by him and the second disciple of the Floating Snow Martial School when they entered the ruins of the puppet school. It would not be good for battling or defending, but it was very convenient. Sister Murong Qingcheng, the qi on your body seems to be different from normal demi-demons. Yin Fengfeng sipped on the tea and said to Murong Qingcheng. She called Yi Chun brother disciple, so naturally, she would call Murong Qingcheng's sister disciple as well. Murong Qingcheng said, "My path is different from normal demi-demons. I train demon power." No wonder. Yin Fengfeng was not too surprised. Murong Qingcheng had the perfect demi-demon bloodline, so she had 2 choices. One was to train Jin Yuan, and the other was demon power. Normal demi-demons could only train Jin Yuan, and could not train the more powerful demon power. But demon power was not good either, since it was very rare on this true spirit continent. Even the pellets that were suitable for human warriors could not be used, and it would be very hard for them to make a breakthrough. She should have had some kind of special experience to be able to train to mid-Sea of Souls realm. It was getting deeper into the night, but no one wanted to sleep. They chatted while waiting for the day to come. A red sun slowly rose, and the Nine Dragons Lake was dyed golden red, sparkling under the light. The spectators, who hadn't slept the whole night, were stirred up spontaneously and looked forward to the match. The battle between Xiaohozuan and Bai Wuxue is today, but I do not know what time it is. It is so hard to wait. There's no rush. We've already waited for a few days. Why would we care about a few more days? Xiaohozuan's door is closer to the Nine-Dragon Mountain, so it should be him who got there first. Someone guessed. Outside the wooden house, Yi Chun put away the puppet house and stood side by side with Murong Qingcheng at the edge of the mountain peak, bathing in the golden red sunlight of the morning sun. He's here. Murong Qingcheng's eyesight was very good, and it seemed that only Yin Fengfeng, who was a blue phoenix, could compete with her. It's Bai Wuxue. Yi Chen looked over and saw a white figure drifting over from the horizon. Shoo! Bai Wuxue's speed was extremely fast, and it only took him a couple of breaths to arrive at the Nine-Dragon Mountain. He landed on one of the steep peaks. He was wearing white robes that were embroidered with plums, orchids, bamboo, and chrysanthemums. He looked very handsome, and there was no trace of impatience on his face. Bai Wuxue, I did not expect to be here before Xiaohozuan. Xiao Chuhe, who was also one of the top 5 young warriors, opened his eyes and said. Bai Wuxue said lightly, I always like to be one step ahead of my opponents. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. I hope that your battle with Xiaohozuan will give me some inspiration. As he said the second sentence, Xiao Chuhe closed his eyes again, standing there with his arms crossed. Bai Wuxiue looked away from Xiao Chuhe and exchanged a look with the sword master, Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Xiaoyu looked very calm and did not say anything. Right now, Bai Wuxiue is here, and Xiao Hozuan will be here as well. But isn't there still one more of the top 5 young warriors? Why is he not here yet? The top young warriors present were Bai Wuxiue, Lu Xiaoyu, Xiao Chuhe, and Xiao Hozuan. There were 4 of them in total, so there was still one more to go. Speaking of which, I do not think I have seen that one before. I heard that it is a girl. How could we have seen her before? The last top young warrior had been recognized by all 4 of them. Otherwise, why would the 4 of them recognize her? Yeah, to be able to make the 4 of them recognize her, she must have the same power as them. Yi Chun asked Yin Fengfeng, Sister Yin, do you know about the 5th top young warrior? Yin Fengfeng shook her head. I have seen her once, but I do not know anything about her background. I only know that people call her the Godly Shark Princess. If I have guessed it right, she should be a beast as well. Godly Shark Princess? Yi Chun shook his head, thinking that it was indeed mysterious. After waiting for a while, a golden figure finally appeared in the southwest direction. Before the person had even arrived, that aggressive aura had already spread out. Xiao Hozuan is here. Finally, this aura is so powerful that people would not even have the thought of fighting back. That aggressive aura, Xiao Hozuan is indeed Xiao Hozuan. The heated atmosphere seemed to be contagious as it covered the entire lake within a second. Yi Chun and Murong Qingsheng exchanged a look. They felt like they were looking at another Chu Zhongtian. But of course, Xiao Hozuan's aura was not something that Chu Zhongtian could compare with, since one was one of the top 5 young warriors while the other was only famous in the southern region. Bai Wuxiue, you are still the same. Xiao Hozuan laughed out loud. A gold light flashed once as he stood on top of the water in the middle of the lake. His body was filled with an aura of dominance. The lake water started to ripple with him as the center, spreading out in all directions as if he was the center of the whole world. Xiao Hozuan's body was extremely huge, with broad shoulders and long legs. He was wearing a bright gold robe with a gold crown on his head. His eyebrows were very long, reaching all the way to his temples. His eyes were like a pair of cold stars in the night sky, shining brightly. I wonder how Chu Zhongtian would feel after coming here. Murong Qingsheng could not help but ask. Yi Chun said, do not underestimate Chu Zhongtian. Regardless, he has the evil spirit body. Once his cultivation catches up, no one would dare to say that they would be able to win against him. Yi Chun would never underestimate Chu Zhongtian. Judging solely on physical talent, he had not seen anyone who could surpass him. There was not even anyone who could match him. As for whether or not he would meet someone like that in the future, it would still be unknown. On top of the steep mountain, Bai Wuxiue said, you are still the same. Cut the bullshit. Let's have 1,000 attacks first. Xiao Hozuan did not wait for Bai Wuxiue to get down as he lifted up his right index finger and pointed out. Boom! The mountain under Bai Wuxiue's feet suddenly exploded like a goddess scattering flowers. Then, countless rocks of various sizes shot out with Bai Wuxiue as the center. It was like this finger had created a huge gravitational field around Bai Wuxiue. Break! Bai Wuxiue waved his right hand, and all of the rocks in front of him turned into dust. Then he jumped out and arrived in front of Xiao Hozuan, throwing out a palm attack. Boom! That palm attack was like the palm of a giant spirit, and a massive palm print appeared on the surface of the lake. The scariest thing was that the lake seemed to have been solidified. The palm print was imprinted on the surface, and the patterns could be seen clearly. Point at the sky. Xiao Hozuan laughed as he drew a circle around his body with his index finger. The space pattern started to vibrate in a regular pattern, forming a twisted defensive layer. The defensive layer had taken on Bai Wuxiue's palm attack and shattered instantly. However, it did not hurt Xiao Hozuan at all. Su King Finger. Using the defensive layer to block out Bai Wuxiue's palm attack, Xiao Hozuan attacked back aggressively. He pointed out his finger, and a King Warrior shadow appeared behind him, pointing out toward Bai Wuxiue as well. Chi, Wave 100 Sky. Bai Wuxiue suddenly landed on the lake's surface, stepping on the solidified lake water. His left hand was placed in front of his chest while his right hand was straightened in the air. His 5 fingers opened slightly, welcoming Xia Hozuan's finger power. Boom, boom, boom. The 9-dragon lake was dozens of miles wide. As the two clashed head-on, the solidified lake surface started to move up and down. In the end, thousands of water columns exploded out, each of which was dozens of meters thick and thousands of meters tall. The water level of the lake had dropped by 200 meters. Too heaven-defying. Every move is unstoppable. Top 5 young warriors. They are indeed a bunch of monsters. Everyone held their breaths as their faces turned red. Powerful. So powerful. So powerful. Haiwia said it 3 times in a row. He could guarantee that, not to mention battling with them, he would not even be able to handle the aftershock of their attacks. This was the power of the top 5 young warriors. Each of them were the top warriors among the young warriors, and the others could only look up to them. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chun said lightly, "Right now, they're still testing each other. They're all using the profound sense martial arts from before. Of course, it would be best if the profound sense martial arts were created by oneself, because if it was created by oneself, one would be able to feel more and would be able to bring out its power to its extreme. I really would not know if I did not see it. Now that I have seen it, I am shocked." As one of the top 3 blade art master level warriors, Lin Xiaonan was indeed shocked. Although his power was slightly higher than Xin Qianlang, and he had improved a lot in the past 2 years, he still did not have the confidence to fight against either by Wu Xue or Xia Hozuan. Xia Baiting nodded. Just their power right now is not something to be underestimated. Wait until they use all of their power. I am afraid that even I will have to pay attention to them. Being able to make Xia Baiting say that he would pay attention to them would be rare. It had been decades since Xia Baiting had been the number 1 blade art master level warrior in the world, and no one had ever been able to take him down. Top 5 young warriors. Dugu Ju sat on the rock with his legs crossed, his eyes shining brightly. He did not look like he was injured at all, but it was not hard to tell how excited he was. In the middle of the lake, Bai Wuxue and Xia Hozuan had already exchanged hundreds of attacks. Neither of them could do anything to the other, because each of their attacks had reached the pinnacle of speed, power, technique, and spirit light flash. Even normal attacks could be turned into a deadly attack in their hands, catching their enemies off guard. 800 attacks, 900 attacks, 1,000 attacks. Indeed, if I do not risk my life, I will not be able to win against you. A gold mist rose up from Xia Hozuan's body, which was caused by his intense qi and blood circulation. The space outside of Bai Wushue's body started to blur as he said lightly, "Let's do our best." Chapter 613. If there was no winner, then this battle would be meaningless for them. Since they had chosen to battle, then they would have to have a winner. They're going all out now. Hearing the conversation between the two, everyone watching could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. They wondered how horrifying it would be once the two used all of their power. Dong! The lake water caved in as Bai Wuxue and Xia Hozuan battled again. Compared to before, this time, the two had pushed their power to its limit, not caring about their Zhen Yuan consumption anymore. The two had made it clear that they would not use pellets to replenish their Zhen Yuan during the battle. Bai Wuxue, take my shooting star finger. Xia Hozuan flew into the air as both of his fingers flicked in the air. Countless massive shooting star finger power shot out like a meteor shower. Grafting. Bai Wuxue did not back out at all as he pushed his Zhen Yuan to its limit. Eventually, a massive ancient tree appeared outside of his body. It was crystal green, looking like it was made out of diamonds. Countless branches reached out like an umbrella. Pap, pap, pap. Xia Hozuan's shooting star finger power had just touched the Zhen Yuan ancient tree when it was sucked over, turning into the fruits on the tree. All of a sudden, the tree was full of fruits. Gasp! The sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air could be heard everywhere. This was the first time that the crowd had seen someone else's attack turn into his own profound martial skill. At this moment, Bai Wuxiue was even more unfathomable in their eyes. Some of the older generation grandmasters who thought highly of themselves could not help but change their expressions. Ting! The great blades and swords on Lu Xiaoyu and Xiao Chua's waist started to vibrate slightly, making a crisp sound. It was because they could not control their own battling intent, causing the great blades and swords to sense it, wanting to get out of their scabbards and attack Bai Wuxiue and Xiao Hozuan. Bai Wuxiue, you are indeed special. Xiao Chua's eyes were bright like blades as he stared at Bai Wuxiue in the middle of the lake. Although Xiao Hozuan was powerful, judging from the situation, he was obviously not as powerful as Bai Wuxiue. You are qualified to be my next opponent. Lu Xiaoyu let out a breath and said lightly. On top of the hill, Yi Chun and the rest looked extra serious and shocked. Amazing. He can actually use the wood profound to such a level. Yi Chun was also proficient in the wood profound. However, it was clear that Bai Wuxiue had left him far behind in this aspect. Seeing that his shooting star finger art had become the fruit on the ancient tree, Xiao Hozuan could not help but be a bit absent-minded. He had to admit that Bai Wuxiue's power was even more powerful than he had expected. If he wanted to win, he might have to pay a huge price. Great Meteor Finger. Being in the ancient tree, Bai Wuxiue waved his hand, and that falling star finger power shot out, attacking Xiao Hozuan back. The scariest thing was that the shooting star finger that Bai Wuxiue had performed seemed to be even more powerful and faster than Xiao Hozuan's, as if it had been enhanced in every aspect. An eye for an eye. Bai Wuxiue's strength shocked everyone. Ha! Xiao Hozuan was so angry that he started laughing. Bai Wuxiue's attack was like a heavy slap on his face, which had pushed his anger to an unprecedented level. Bai Wuxiue, you are indeed very powerful, but it is still not enough. His finger drew a circle around his body. 2 circles, 3 circles, a whole 3 layers of defense appeared, making Xiao Hozuan feel like he was in another world. His connection with this world had been reduced to the minimum. That endless finger power shot out, shattering the first layer of defense. The second layer and the third layer of defense only lasted for a second before shattering as well. However, the rest of the finger power could no longer threaten Xiao Hozuan anymore. Let's see how you absorb it this time. Comet Finger. With a roar, Xiao Hozuan pushed up his Zhen Yuan and pointed out his finger. Without a sound, the sky darkened for dozens of miles. In that pitch-black environment, a massive comet sliced through the sky, bringing with it a destructive aura as it attacked toward that crystal ancient tree and Bai Wuxiue, who was in it. One alone, Bai Wuxiue looked as calm as ever as he formed a spell with both of his hands. The branches of the ancient tree shrunk back quickly, merging back into the main trunk. Only one branch was left outside, but it did not shrink back at all. Instead, it started to grow at an unimaginable speed, eventually reaching beyond the main trunk. It flew toward that incoming comet finger power and clashed together. The sky above the Nine-Dragon Lake had turned into a death zone. That intense light that was like a star exploding had forced everyone to close their eyes. If it had not closed their eyes, they might even go blind. Obviously, no one would want to risk it for nothing, since it was not their battle after all. Boom! After the intense light, a loud sound was heard. A lot of people's faces turned pale, and their chests felt heavy, since they were dozens of miles away from the battle site. Bai Wuxiue, take another one of my comet finger attacks. In that intense light, color had already lost its meaning. A barely visible shadow moved at an extremely fast speed, approaching Bai Wuxiue. Then, the sky darkened again, and the intense light was weakened. A finger power that looked like a real comet cracked open a mark in the light, shooting toward Bai Wuxiue, who was in front of it. Xiao Hozuan, take out your most powerful ace attack and void-shattering finger attack. Bai Wuxiue scattered the tattered quintessence ancient tree and took a deep breath. His palm, which was covered in a jade-green light at some point in time, stretched out. Then, he clenched his fist in the air. In the next instant, a huge jade-green hand appeared out of nowhere in the dark environment. It grabbed the comet finger energy and squeezed. Boom! This time, the explosion was not as loud as before. The comet finger power and the huge green hand had been destroyed into nothingness at the same time, exploding into a pile of energy swirls. As you wish. Xiahou Zuan also knew that with only the 2 attacks, he would not be able to do anything to Bai Wuxue. Among the top 5 young warriors, no one was truly number 1. But without a doubt, Bai Wuxue was the one who had hidden the most, and the one who was the most unpredictable. Is it Xiahou Zuan's ace attack or the void-shattering finger attack? Yi Chen's breathing sped up a little. His biggest goal this time was to witness Xiahou Zuan's void-shattering finger attack. Only by observing it would he be able to learn the space profound faster and bring out the full power of the void-shattering finger attack. Turning void into reality. 1 finger attack. Xiahou Zuan lifted up his right hand and reached out his index finger. In the next second, all of the space power that was everywhere in the world rushed over and gathered around his body. He seemed to be unable to control all of that space power, so a lot of it spread out in all directions like a pattern in the surreal space. Such a rich space power. Yi Chen closed his eyes and immersed himself in the observation of the space power. He felt like a fish swimming in the space power, continuously absorbing the nutrients and strengthening his body. As he continued to learn the space profound, Yin Feng Feng, Murong Qing Sheng, and the rest had also noticed a change in Yi Chen. Chapter 614. Bai Wuxue looked a bit more serious. The space profound was one of the most powerful profounds, just below the time profound. When 2 profounds of the same level collided, the winner would definitely be the space profound. There was no doubt about it at all. In order to compete with the space profound, one would have to have the same level of profound. If one did not have the same level of profound, then one would have to be way more powerful in terms of movement. Lose. Xiahou Zuan's eyes shone brightly as he pointed out his finger at Bai Wuxue, who was 1,000 meters away. As he pointed out his finger, that rich space power was added to his finger power, shooting out through the air. Eventually, it formed into a huge golden finger that looked like a tower, pressing toward Bai Wuxue. Can't dodge it. Bai Wuxue had thought about dodging, but the space power was the most mysterious one. It had the horrifying effect of shortening the distance. Even though it looked like 1,000 meters, it could actually be shortened by 2 times or even 3 times. Since I can't dodge it, then I guess I won't. Shield of Life. Endless Defense. Bai Wuxue had already started to form the spell when Chu Zhongtian performed his void-shattering finger attack. After making up his mind, he pushed his spell's speed to its limit. His hand shadow could no longer be seen anymore, only a blurry green light ball. Behind his back, countless thick Zhen Yuan vines reached out. Judging from their shape, they looked very ancient, having a similar aura to the Zhen Yuan ancient tree. Shoo! 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 Under the contrast of countless Zhen Yuan vines, Bai Wuxue looked like a super huge spider. An air-piercing sound was heard as all of those Zhen Yuan vines reached out in front of Bai Wuxue, forming a green shield that looked like it was made out of vines. It stood firmly in front of him, connecting with the rest of the vines. In the next second, the golden finger landed on the green shield, bringing up a loud sound. The shield has been broken through. Everyone could see that there was a huge hole in the green shield, and it looked like it was about to go through. No, the shield is repairing at an insane speed. The pupils of the people with sharp eyes shrunk as they saw something that shocked them. The golden finger was invincible, and it could devour the energy on the shield to strengthen itself. However, the green shield did not collapse with a single strike. The countless green vines were like its nutrient conduits, providing it with sufficient nutrients. Even if the golden finger devoured a portion of the green vines, it would not be a big deal. It is the life power. I did not expect Bai Wuxue to have learned the profound of life. Someone exclaimed. It was a chain that connected the past, the present, and the future. Below it was the space profound. To a certain extent, the space profound was not inferior to the time profound. Below the space profound, there were many more powerful profounds, such as the yin profound, the yang profound, the life profound, and the death profound. Once the yin profound and the yang profound were combined, the life profound and the death profound would become a profound that was equal to the space profound. However, because these two opposing profounds needed to be combined, it was not as good as the space profound. Therefore, it was not as famous as the space profound. Although the profound of life was not as powerful as the profound of space, Bai Wushue's understanding of it had obviously surpassed Xia Hozun's understanding of the profound of space. That endless life power poured into the green shield, canceling out the attack of the golden finger. He has actually learned the profound of life. Xiao Zun was shocked, so he threw out another void-shattering finger attack at Bai Wushue, wanting to beat him with one attack. Bai Wushue reached out both of his hands, the green shield seeming to be indestructible. After the activation of the profound of life, the endless life power was generated, canceling out the golden finger attack once again. Xiao Hozun's void-shattering finger has been blocked out. Bai Wushue is indeed powerful. I wonder if Xiao Hozun will still use his void-shattering finger attack. I don't think so. The more powerful the profound, the more Zhen Yuan it will need. If he keeps this up, then Xiao Hozun's Zhen Yuan will be drained even faster than Bai Wushue's. You are right. Hearing everyone's discussion, Xie Baiting thought to himself, his profound of life should have been learned from the profound of wood. Among the 5 elements, the profound of wood and the profound of water both contain the profound of life, and the profound of earth contains a bit of it as well. Training the profound of wood to the highest level would indeed allow one to learn the profound of life. But the condition would be that the warrior's own comprehensive ability would be very high. All the power Upanishads in this world were connected, including time and space, because everything was derived from the primal chaos. Bai Wushue, you are indeed very powerful, so powerful that even I am impressed. But if you think that I only have this much power, then you are very wrong. Indeed, the void-shattering finger attack is my most powerful profound sense martial art, but might not be the one that I am best at. My best profound sense martial art would be the star nuclear finger that I have created myself. Take this. Xiao Hozun did not perform his void-shattering finger attack anymore. His body flashed once as he approached Bai Wushue at an extreme speed. That green shield could only block in front of him, and not in all directions. Shoo! Xiao Hozun arrived at Bai Wushue's side and threw out a finger attack. Pop! Where Bai Wushue was standing, all of the air, yuan qi, and even the lake water were all pulled towards Xiao Hozun, eventually being compressed into a light ball. Bai Wushue, who was in the same space, could not help but be pulled over as well. That invisible pressure was pressing on him. This is the star nuclear gravity. Bai Wushue frowned. Indeed, this is the martial art that I have learned from the Starlight Profound. Judging on attacking power, it is not as powerful as the void-shattering finger attack. But the things that the void-shattering finger attack cannot do, it can do. For example, beating you. Xiao Hozun was very confident, but it was not something that he was born with. It was something that came from his power. Indeed, this attack is very powerful. Bai Wushue let go of a shield of life and pushed his Zhen Yuan, try his best to cancel out the star nuclear gravity that Xiao Hozun had released. He did not doubt that once the star nuclear gravity landed on his body, it would shatter all of his internal organs and wound him severely. Therefore, it was very important to control the distance. Chi Wave 100 Sky. Bai Wushue threw out a palm attack towards Xiao Hozun. Chi poured out, but out of his expectation, he could not perform the martial art that he had trained in the past. Once he let out his Zhen Yuan, it would be dragged out, and he would not be able to gather more Zhen Yuan. My star nuclear finger attack is not only used on your body. Your Zhen Yuan is affected by the star nuclear gravity as well. If my attack is not good, then I am afraid that my defense will not work either. Even my protective Zhen Yuan is starting to move. Bai Wushue could sense that his protective Zhen Yuan was twisting and looking like it was about to shatter. Xiao Hozun's star nuclear finger attack was way more powerful than he had expected. Since I cannot block out the star nuclear gravity, then I might as well do the opposite. This star nuclear gravity would not be able to break the balance, and it would have its own limit. Facing the danger, Bai Wuxiue still did not lose his cool. He took a deep breath, and the Zhen Yuan in his dantian exploded like a flood. It rushed out through his meridians, and eventually he shot out of his body. That green Jin Yuan was like a burning flame, expanding crazily. What? Xia Hozuan did not really understand what Bai Wuxiue was doing. Lin Xiaonan, one of the top 3 blade artists, did not understand either. He asked Xie Baiting, "Brother Xie, what do you think Bai Wuxiue is planning?" Xie Baiting saw Bai Wuxue's Zhen Yuan being absorbed by Xia Hozuan's star nuclear finger attack and compressed into a green light ball. As the light ball got bigger and bigger, Xia Hozuan found it harder and harder to control it. Xie Baiting sighed, "Such a powerful battling experience. Even I could not think of a way to break out of it. I did not expect him to have figured it out. He is doing the opposite, burning his own Jin Yuan to cancel out Xia Hozuan's star nuclear finger attack, because the star nuclear gravity has its own limit. Once it goes beyond that limit, the star nuclear finger attack would lose its effect." After Xie Baiting's reminder, Lin Xiaonan had understood it immediately. He could not help but be shocked. Obviously, Xia Hozuan had also understood what Bai Wuxiue was doing. He said with a bad look on his face, "Do you think this will work? Before, you had performed the flower replace tree attack. Now, you should taste the feast that I have prepared for you." The star nuclear finger attack was not an active attack, but of course it was not a passive attack either. It was something that was in between. Explode. Xia Hozuan was acting very strangely. His body flashed once before backing out at extreme speed, getting away from where Bai Wuxiue was. Shield of Life. Bai Wuxue's expression changed as he hurried to reach out his right hand. Dozens of Zhen Yuan vines grew out of his arm, forming a small green shield. In the next second, the Jin Yuan ball that had been compressed into a bright green light ball exploded. It was Bai Wuxue's Zhen Yuan, which was basically giving Bai Wuxue a taste of his own medicine. Boom! The green shield was shattered, and Bai Wuxue was blown backward. Midway, he suddenly sunk down, both of his hands pressing on the surface of the Nine-Dragon Lake. Spear of Life. Swoosh! At the bottom of the lake, countless Zhen Yuan vines formed into a long spear that broke through the water. It was right below Xia Hozuan, landing right on his protective Zhen Yuan layer. Pooh! His protective Zhen Yuan was shattered, and Xia Hozuan puked out a huge amount of blood. He had been badly wounded. Yuck! After throwing out that attack, Bai Wuxue himself had been wounded quite badly as well. Sticky blood poured out of his mouth, dyeing the lake water under his feet red. Bai Wuxue won? Everyone was not too sure, so they looked at each other. On top of the hill, Yin Fengfeng and Hai Wuya did not know who had won either. On the surface, it seemed like Bai Wuxue had wounded Xia Hozuan with one attack, so he had won. But Bai Wuxue himself had been wounded badly as well. If Xia Hozuan still had the power to fight, then it would be a tie. Who? Right then, an intense space vibration appeared around Yi Chun, who was right next to Murong Qingcheng. It was getting more and more powerful, forcing Murong Qingcheng to move away from Yi Chun for a while. Void-shattering finger, 60%, 70%. In a short time, Yi Chun had trained his space profound to an extremely high level. It was mainly because he had been stuck at 50% of his void-shattering finger before, and could not make a breakthrough. Actually, he had accumulated a lot, and as long as he broke through the bottleneck, he would be able to keep improving his space profound. It was like a scholar who had been troubled by a difficult problem. Once he solved it, a lot of problems would be solved, and he would be able to reach a higher level in a short time. Chapter 615. Indeed, the space power Upanishad is 10 times more complicated than I had imagined. If the void-shattering finger art could only simulate the power of space at 50%, then after 50%, it would be able to absorb the power of space, which was everywhere. However, Yi Chun could feel that even with 70% of the void-shattering finger art, it would still only be able to make use of the space profound. In the end, it would only be using the power of space and would never be able to enter the palace of space. It was just like having a house. You could only use the materials of the house, but it did not mean that you understood the structure of the house. There would be a huge gap between the two, which was the difference between a layman and an expert. Even though he had comprehended the void-shattering finger to 70%, he was still an amateur. It was not hard to imagine how powerful and difficult it was to comprehend the profound of space. Xiaohozuan's void-shattering finger should be around 80%, definitely not more than 90%. Right now, I'm still not able to compete with him. But of course, there is still a gap. But for now, the power of my gold pattern is not weaker than the 70% void-shattering finger. Combined with the destruction sword intent, it is even more powerful than the 80% void-shattering finger. When the void-shattering finger was trained to 50%, the gold resonant radiance at 130% had already surpassed the void-shattering finger. Then, the gold resonant radiance had reached 130%, and its power had increased drastically. Even if it could not reach 60%, it would not be much weaker than the void-shattering finger. Once Yi-Chun had figured out his new sword movement, the gold pattern, it had become his most powerful ace attack. In terms of power, the gold pattern was twice as powerful as his 130% gold resonant radiant sword art. Combined with the destruction sword intent, the 80% power of his void-shattering finger art would not be exaggerating at all. Therefore, under the same cultivation level, Yi-Chun's most powerful attacking power would not be any weaker than Xiaohozuan's. Of course, the time that was given to Yi-Chun was still a bit short. As long as Yi-Chun perfected his gold pattern, it would not be impossible for him to compete with the top 5 young warriors with his peak-level mid-seas of Soul's realm cultivation. Therefore, at the end of the day, time was still too short. It was the same for Duguju. Opening his eyes, Yi-Chun withdrew from the state of comprehension. Yi-Chun, have you comprehended it? Murong Qingqing knew that Yi-Chun was cultivating the void-shattering finger. Yi-Chun nodded. This trip wasn't in vain. Congratulations. Actually, Yin Fengfeng and Hai Wuya had also vaguely known that the finger art Yi-Chun had used had something to do with Xiaohozuan's void-shattering finger art. They were just not sure about it, and did not want to point it out. Looking at Jiulong Lake, Yi-Chun asked, "Who won?" Murong Qingqing shook her head and said, "I am not sure. Bai Wuxiue and Xiaohozuan were both wounded quite badly, but Bai Wuxiue had the upper hand." "Yes, I can tell." In Yi-Chun's sight, Bai Wuxiue's face was extremely pale, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. Meanwhile, Xiaohozuan was looking even worse. The clothes on his chest had been ripped apart, revealing the defensive armor underneath. His face was covered in a layer of gold, and there was blood coming out of all of his orifices. His wounds were obviously more severe than Bai Wuxiue's. The question was, did Xiaohozuan still have the power to fight? One had to know that at their level, it was possible for them to turn the tables at any time. Cough, cough, cough. Puking out another couple of mouthfuls of blood, Xiaohozuan's expression changed a couple of times. Eventually, he said slowly, "Shield of life, spear of life. I did not expect you to have already studied the profound of life to this level, able to attack and defend." Bai Wuxi said indifferently, "Likewise, your astral core finger nearly defeated me. Yes, I should hold on a little longer." Xiaohozuan was a bit regretful. If he had held on, then Bai Wuxiue would not have been able to perform that life spear attack with his remaining Jinyuan. But it was such a critical situation. Plus, he more or less had the thought of giving Bai Wuxiue a taste of his own medicine, which had ended up costing him the battle. But he could still vaguely feel that even if he had held on and performed his star nuclear finger attack to drain his opponent's Jinyuan, he might not have been able to win. His only mistake was letting down his guard slightly, allowing his opponent to hit him with the spear of life. In a battle between powerful warriors, the slightest mistake could decide the outcome. The conversation between the two was heard by the crowd, and only then did they realize that Bai Wuxiue had won. But what made them curious was that since Xiaohozuan could still talk normally, he should still have the power to fight. So, why did he not give it his all? But what they did not know was that the reason Xiaohozuan could still talk normally was not because of his wounds. In fact, those few sentences had already made him unable to suppress the hidden wounds in his body anymore. All of his organs were showing signs of being shattered. Bai Wushue's last spear attack was unbelievably powerful, and it was not that much weaker than the void-shattering finger art. It seems like Bai Wushue has won, but Xiao Hozuan is not weak either. If they were to fight again, he might not lose. Yeah, Xiao Hozuan's finger painting art is indeed powerful. Unfortunately, he was a bit careless and did not manage to block out that life spear in time. You cannot blame Xiao Hozuan either. In that kind of situation, anyone would have been careless. I can only say that Bai Wushue is too powerful. The onlookers discussed animatedly, their emotions surging. Ha! Bai Wushue Xiao Hozuan, you are indeed powerful enough to be in the top of the ranking. Right then, on a tall mountain not far away from the Nine-Dragon Lake, a bulky elder laughed out loud and said something that shocked everyone. Ranking? What is that? I've never heard of it before. Is there really such a ranking in the dark? That is not possible, right? What kind of ranking is there that we do not even know about? Let's ask him. Hey, what is this ranking? Someone asked. The elder said with a loud voice, I'm Gao Changtian, the master of the pavilion. This ranking did not exist before, so it is normal that you guys do not know about it. Oh, is your pavilion trying to compile a ranking? Gao Changtian scanned around with an excited look on his face as he said slowly, as everyone knows, it is hard to reach the life and death realm. There would only be around 10 in 100 years, and no more than 20. Sometimes there would only be 7 or 8. But there are so many Sea of Souls realm warriors in the world. It would not be an exaggeration to say that there are so many of them. But unless you become a life and death realm warrior, once you die, people will forget about your existence in just a few decades. How sad and cruel would that be? Clearing his throat, Gao Changtian continued to say, although our pavilion has not been around for that long, it still has 800 years of history. In the early days of the pavilion's development, the leader of the building and a lot of the dead masters had talked about compiling the ranking. But the true spirit continent was way too big to imagine. With the power of the pavilion back then, it would be impossible for us to finish it. Even if we did, there would not be a lot of people who would believe and acknowledge it. After 800 years, we have finally reached our peak. We have branches in all the top 10 cities in the world. In each city, we have a large or mid-sized base for collecting information. There are also small bases in the normal towns. Therefore, although the continent is huge, we believe that we can finish the task of compiling the ranking. We swear that we will put all of the top Sea of Souls realm warriors into the ranking. So, after decades or centuries, there will still be people who will remember them and remember their glorious stories. Gasp. Hearing him, everyone gasped, including Xie Baiting, Bai Wushue, and the rest. Putting all of the top Sea of Souls realm warriors into the ranking would be extremely difficult, since there were a lot of them who had been hiding in the dark or had retired from the world. Besides them, since they were going to compile the ranking, there would have to be a ranking, which would be even harder than finding all of the hidden master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. It would be impossible to have a master-level competition and have all of the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors participate in the competition. It would not be realistic at all. Therefore, in order to compile the ranking, one would have to carefully observe some of the top Sea of Souls realm master-level warriors and figure out their specific power levels. It would be a lot of work. Of course, only the pavilion would have the right to compile the ranking, since it was the recognized #1 information organization in the world. How many people are in the ranking? Some of the master-level warriors who thought that they had some power could breathe faster. They could already see the future of the ranking. Without any surprises, once the ranking was released, it would definitely shock the whole world. Being able to be in the ranking would be a symbol of power and fame. Although they were quite famous before, there would always be some people who did not want to admit their power. Gao Changtian said, the ranking is more about quality than quantity. Therefore, there would only be 72 spots in total, and it would be changed once a year. Then, we will write a book for the ranking, which you can buy in every city. Even if you have never been in the martial world before, even if you're not a warrior, As long as you buy a book, you will know who the top master-level warriors are in the world. Such a big plan. Yichen could not help but take a deep breath. He did not expect that the information from the pavilion would be this powerful. He did not think that the pavilion had overestimated itself. Otherwise, they would not have waited until 800 years before starting to compile the master-level warrior ranking, waiting until now. Once the ranking is out, it will also ignite the passion of the master-level warriors. Murong Qingshang said. Yichen nodded, that is for sure. Once the ranking is recognized, it will become the wind vein. If you're not in it, then no one will acknowledge you. Therefore, some of the people who are planning to protect themselves and not accept challenges will not be able to stay quiet like before unless they do not care about their reputation. After all, you have not fought for dozens of years, so who knows how powerful you really are. The pavilion will not be able to do something that only the gods can do, so they can only try to be fair. Someone suddenly asked, Master Gao, you just said that by Wu Shiwei and Xia Hozuan have the right to be in the top of the ranking. I wonder, according to your information, what rank would they be? Hearing him, a lot of people had a curious look flashing through their eyes. They all said that the top 5 young warriors were very powerful, and there were not many people who could surpass them. But if there was a clear ranking, then it would be more intuitive. Gao Changtian said, I'm not sure about that right now, because the ranking will be compiled on the 10th of October. Although we have collected a lot of information, it is not perfect yet. But, judging from the information we have, by Wu Shiwei and Xia Hozuan would both be in the top 15, maybe even higher. Anyway, on the 10th of October, the first ranking will be released. By then, you all will know who the 72 warriors will be. The 10th of October. There is still less than a month. This Gao Changtian must be here to collect information. If I had known earlier, I would have shown some of my power as well. Perhaps he would have noticed me and listed me as one of the candidates. Since the pavilion is going to compile the ranking, then they must have planned it beforehand. As long as they have made a move in the recent years, they would have collected all of it. But of course, it would be better for me to show some of my power now, since I am definitely more powerful than before. Looking over at Xie Baiting, Gao Changtian laughed. Xie Baiting, your power is recognized by everyone in the martial world. We, the pavilion, have already listed you as one of the top 5 candidates. Without any surprises, you will definitely be in the top 5. As he spoke, he looked over at Yi Chun, the number 1 warrior under the top 5 young warriors. Yi Chun, you might be able to make it into the ranking as well. You have a great chance. Xie Baiting and Yi Chun smiled lightly and did not say anything. But they were very curious about the ranking as well. Once the 10th of October arrived, they would definitely buy a copy of the ranking to see who the 72 warriors were and see if they could match their own opinions. Chapter 6:16. Seeing that Gao Changtian also thought highly of Yi Chun, a lot of people looked at him with admiration. But this kind of thing was not going to happen. Yi Chun would only be appreciated if he had the power. The number 1 warrior, just below the top 5 young warriors, was not an easy title. As for Xie Baiting, no one doubted him even more. He had been the number 1 blade master in the continent for decades, and his power could only be described as immeasurable. Being in the top 5 of the master-level warrior ranking would be a piece of cake for him. But no one knew who else would be able to make it into the top 5. Time is running out. Duguju quietly tightened his fists. He had never wanted to increase his power as much as he did before. They were all young people, and since they were all young people, they would definitely be young and energetic. How could they be indifferent to fame and fortune? Those who would have already lost their passion. Taking a deep breath, Duguju looked determined. He looked in the direction where Yi Chun was and said with a loud voice, Yi Chun, I will challenge you here in 1 year. But of course, if you do not come, I will have nothing to say. Duguju is going to challenge Yi Chun in 1 year. Judging from the current situation, although Duguju and Yi Chun are not as powerful as the top 5 young warriors, they are getting closer. Not many people have been able to do this in the past few years, including Lan Xieching and Lin Tian, who have the highest chance of becoming the top 5 young warriors. They're still far away from the top 5 young warriors. It seems like Duguju is trying to use the one-year deadline to pressure himself and force himself to improve even faster. If he could beat Yi Chun, then he would be even more powerful. The battle between the two top martial geniuses. It would not be that much weaker than the top 5 young warriors. No, I think it might be even more interesting than the battle between the top 5 young warriors, because a lot of people would like to know how much they would have improved in 1 year. Don't forget that they had only reached the Sea of Souls realm for 1 or 2 years, and they had already improved so much. If they were given another year, even if they were not as powerful as the top 5 young warriors, they would be very close. They might even be able to compete with the top 5 young warriors. Now that you mention it, it's possible. Hearing that Duguju wanted to challenge Yi Chun in a year's time, the crowd's blood that had just calmed down started to boil again. Soon after, countless pairs of eyes looked at Yi Chun to see how he would respond. Yi Chun simply said, "I will come." Duguju couldn't be underestimated. Some people were born to become stronger when encountering strong opponents. The strength of his opponent would only promote his improvement. Yi Chun really wanted to know if Duguju could fight against him. If he could, then his future opponent would most likely be Duguju. Yi Chun agreed. How decisive. Of course, they are both monstrous geniuses. If Yi Chun didn't agree, wouldn't he be afraid of Duguju? He's afraid that Duguju will surpass him. Everyone discussed animatedly. All of a sudden, a person walked out of the crowd. It was indeed one of the previous master-level blade artists, Shun Qianlang. Lin Xiaonan saw Shun Qianlang walk out, so he said to Xia Baiting, "It seems like Brother Shin could not wait anymore. This time's master-level warrior ranking will be a great opportunity." Xia Baiting said, "All right. Compared to Bai Wuxue and Xia Hozuan, I would like to know how powerful Xiao Chuhe is." Just as Xia Baiting finished his sentence, Shun Qianlang flew to the center of the lake and said with a loud voice, "Xiao Chuhe, let's use this opportunity to battle it out." 2 years ago, he had lost to Xiao Chuhe and lost the title of being one of the top 3 master-level blade artists, while Xiao Chuhe had become the youngest master-level blade artist. Today, he was not only going to take back the title that he once had, but also prove to the world that Shun Qianlang, would not fall just like this. Even if his opponent was one of the top 5 young warriors, so what? Xiao Chuhe walked out step by step. "All right, my blade intent is at its peak. Since you have come out to challenge me, I will give you a chance." The battle between Bai Wuxue and Xia Hozuan had already ignited Xiao Chuhe's battle intent and blade intent. Shin Qianlong's challenge was exactly what he wanted. These two want to battle as well? Gao Changtian was interested. He knew that the top 5 young warriors were all important targets. "Let's do it." Xiao Chuhe stood on top of the lake, holding the blade scabbard in his left hand. Who? Shin Qianlang slowly breathed in and out, adjusting his breathing. Xiao Chuhe was definitely the fastest blade artist he had ever seen. He did not have the confidence to win, but he thought that if he did not challenge him now, he would not have the chance in the future. Therefore, he had to fight. Wave. Combined with the breathing technique, Shun Qianlang adjusted his mental state to its peak. His excitement was accompanied by calmness, and his calmness contained a destructive, explosive power. He was like a boundless ocean, each wave taller than the last, instilling fear in people's hearts. Qin, taking out his blade, the lake water under Shun Qianlong's feet suddenly expanded, turning into a huge wave that carried him toward Xiao Chuhe, who was not far away. Soon, a blade light shone, and the entire 9-dragon lake turned violet, increasing the pressure on Xiao Chuhe. Break. The lake water under Xiao Chuhe's feet did not change at all. He groaned and took out his long blade as well. Holding it with both of his hands, he threw out a blade attack. Swoosh! The huge wave was sliced open, and Shun Qianlong's blade light was shattered. Dang! 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 Both of them were top blade artists. Although the battle scene was not as amazing as by Wuxue and Xia Hozuan's, each blade attack was deadly, giving people a very thrilling feeling. Shun Qianlang was indeed one of the top 3 blade artists. His blade aura was so powerful that it was almost unimaginable. Each blade attack was like a huge wave in the ocean. After throwing out dozens of blade attacks in a row, the sky had changed color and the waves were endless. If normal blade artists were to battle with him, they would be completely suppressed in terms of aura alone, because Shun Qianlang, who was using all of his power, gave people the feeling that he was an ocean that was unpredictable. If Shun Qianlang was the ocean, then Xiao Chuhe would be a blade artist training in the ocean. The blade in his hand was not that fast, but it was not that amazing either. But with one blade attack, any incoming wave would be sliced in half without any hesitation, condensing the blade power without letting it out. Such a horrifying blade artist. Gradually, Yichen could feel how horrifying Xiao Chuhe was. If Bai Wuxue was like the clouds and Xia Hozuan was like the thunder, then Xiao Chuhe was like the earth, carrying everything in its way. It was extremely heavy, and if one wanted to beat a blade artist like this, they would have to be way more powerful than him. Otherwise, there would be no way to beat him in one go. Ride the wind and wave. Shun Qianlang knew that it would not be good for him if it continued. So, he carried the wind and wave as his whole body shot into the air and threw out a blade attack. This blade attack was thrown out with the momentum, and it was Shun Qianlong's most powerful blade attack. Ocean Splitting Blade. Xiao Chuhe was still standing in the area where he was standing. Facing Shun Qianlong's most powerful blade attack, he did not back out or try to avoid it. He threw out one blade attack after another, as if it were nothing more than waves. As long as it was a wave, there would be nothing that he could not cut in half. Swoosh! Shun Qianlong's most powerful blade attack disappeared completely. On the surface of the Nine-Dragon Lake, a blade mark that extended all the way to the edge appeared. The blade mark was like a natural mode, instantly splitting the surface of the lake in half. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Shun Qianlang was blown backward as a blade mark appeared on his chest. Although he had the protection of his armor, so that blade attack did not land on his body directly, the extremely dense blade power had already gone through the armor and wounded his internal organs. He did not feel that much pain, but instead a relief, because from now on, he would not have to challenge Xiao Chuhe anymore, and he would not have to carry the pressure of losing to him anymore. What a powerful ocean-splitting blade attack! Shun Qianlang did not even have a chance to fight back. Xie Baiting shook his head. This battle was not that exciting, and it was not even that intense. If one had to talk about intense battles, then Shun Qianlang would be the most intense. Unfortunately, his opponent was Xiao Chuhe, who was like an endless land. Shun Qianlong's blade art seemed to be very aggressive, but it would not be able to cover the whole land all of a sudden. From the beginning to the end, Shun Qianlang did not even have a chance to fight back. He was forced into Xiao Chuhe's rhythm. Seeing this kind of battle, even Xie Baiting could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. He thought that if they were at the same power level, he would only have 30 to 40% chance of beating Xiao Chuhe. Ocean-splitting blade Xiao Chuhe. Impressive. Since Gao Changtian was able to become a master of the pavilion, he had been able to observe the power of all the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors in the world. So, he was naturally not weak himself. As a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior himself, he could tell that Shun Qianlang was very powerful. Although he might not be able to make it into the top 20, he would definitely be able to make it into the top 25. If it were someone else, then the battle would be even more intense. But his opponent was Xiao Chuhe, and there was not even a single chance for him to fight back. Xiao Chuhe, you can also make it into the top 15 of the master-level warrior ranking, Gao Changtian announced. Everyone did not have any doubts about what Gao Changtian had announced, so they started to discuss quietly. This battle is so normal, but why am I having goosebumps all over my body? Me too. Don't you guys feel it? Shun Qianlang is like a bug in a spider's web. No matter how hard he tries to struggle, he will still end up in the spider's mouth. Someone expressed the most appropriate opinion. After beating Shun Qianlang, Xiao Chuhe's expression did not change at all as he turned to look at Lu Xiaoyu, who had a cold expression on his face. Lu Xiaoyu, in 1 year, I will challenge you. Sure, Lu Xiaoyu said lightly. Another battle in 1 year. Everyone got excited. Adding Duguju and Yichun, there would be two intense battles in 1 year. So, no matter what, they would have to come and watch the battles in 1 year. After the battle between Shun Qianlang and Xiao Chua had ended, the Nine-Dragon Lake quieted down. Let's go. Yichun knew that there would not be any more battles, and even if there were, it would only be some small warriors. More and more people started to leave the place. Just like that, the Nine-Dragon Lake, which had been quite lively for the past couple of days, had finally come to an end. But, although it had ended, everything that had happened in the past couple of days would definitely be spread around the Sky Marshal region for a long time, becoming the topic of everyone's gossip. Regarding the master-level warrior ranking, it would naturally be spread around the world through everyone's mouths, bringing up a huge storm.